Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobook. If you enjoy the content, like and subscribing will be greatly appreciated. If you have any recommendation for novels, comment down below. Marvel, Double Through the Fairy Tale World. Chapter 61. One by one, superhumans descended from the sky with golden light and appeared on the scene. Gradually, nearly 3-digit superhumans began to appear in this area. At this moment, even Professor X couldn't help but look sideways. He had always known that there were many superhumans in this world, but he didn't expect there were so many. For a while, he kept curiously looking at every superhuman who arrived. As for Magneto, he was much more straightforward. He was not only a mutant supremacist, but also a firm respecter of the strong. Although there are many superhumans now, most of them are not even as good as the third-level mutants. He doesn't even look at such weak scum and has no interest in taking a few more glances. Moreover, as time went by, Magneto's expression began to become a little impatient. He was interested in the situation of this black market, not waiting here. Finally, the descending golden light began to decrease, and after a while, no other people arrived. It was at this time that a strong golden light suddenly appeared in the sky. The intensity of this light was far higher than the light when others descended. It was similar, but more sacred and extraordinary. The next moment, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, a figure gradually emerged. This was a man that many people were very familiar with. "Caliban, it's you, long time no see." Professor X greeted him with a smile. Bald Caliban also smiled back. "Professor, we will have a chance to talk again later." Then, Bald Caliban looked around at the more than 3-digit superhumans below and spoke. His voice seemed to carry a special magic that instantly spread throughout the venue and echoed in everyone's ears. "Hell's Kitchen Black Market welcomes you all. Caliban, stop talking nonsense. My patience is almost at its limit. If you are the one behind this weird black market, I don't need to stay here any longer." The one who spoke was naturally Magneto. Magneto was no stranger to Caliban, a former intelligence dealer. If it weren't for his special abilities, he wouldn't even be interested in taking a few more glances at a level 1 mutant. Caliban was not angry either, and still had a faint smile on his face. "Mr. Magneto, please don't be so impatient. I'm going to take you to the middle level right now so you can see the real Hell's Kitchen black market." Middle layer. Professor X immediately caught the strange word. Caliban nodded. "Yes, middle layer. Our Hell's Kitchen black market is divided into 4 floors. The place where you are now is the outer floor, which is used as a temporary resting place. It is not the real Hell's Kitchen black market. From this layer inwards, there are the middle layer, the inner layer, and the core layer." "Then why don't you take us directly to the core layer?" Magneto frowned and asked. Caliban was still smiling, but there was a sense of alienation in his smile that was obvious to people. "Mr. Magneto, the more central the position, the more secrets there are. Not everyone is qualified to know everything, understand everything, and obtain everything." Interesting. When Magneto heard this, he was not angry, but showed some interest. Since he was a staunch mutant supremacist, he certainly did not prefer such stupid things as freedom and equality. Absolute class division and barriers were also something that Magneto did not object to. "How do we enter the core layer you mentioned? Don't tell me it costs money, or I'll laugh my teeth off." Caliban laughed, with a hint of pride in his tone. "We are all superhumans, extraordinary beings, beings with powers beyond the ordinary. How can the path to promotion be just about money? How can being extraordinary be such an inconvenient thing? If you want to be promoted to a more core position, there are 2 ways. First, strength. We are born to be superior to ordinary people. The victory or defeat is determined by strength. This is the simplest and most convenient route. As long as you are strong enough and fight all the way to the core, we will not stop you, but warmly welcome you." Magneto laughed, and the sound of his laughter gradually became louder. All around, circles of magnetic force began to stir, forcing the weak guys around to retreat one after another. Great rules. As a mutant bipolar, Mr. Magneto's strength is unquestionable, but with Mr. Magneto's strength, I'm afraid he can only fight the inner layer. After all, although Mr. Magneto is powerful, he is only a level 4 legend. Level 4 legend? Is it similar to level 4 mutant? This time it was not Magneto who spoke, but Professor X. Caliban nodded, then shook his head. You know, mutants are not the only superhumans. Mutants, magicians, enhanced humans, cosmic life forms, etc. The complexity of the categories has led to almost every category having their own unique classification. How messy it is! I, the boss behind the scenes, the arbitrator of the entire black market, feel that these too many classifications are messy and useless, so I deliberately formulated a set of standard level classifications. Level 1 Life Form, Ordinary Person, Ordinary Life Form, Strength limit does not exceed 457 kilograms, Speed limit does not exceed 9.48 seconds per 100 meters. Level 2 Life Forms, Apprentice level life forms, are the first to enter the realm of the extraordinary. Their strength ranges from 1 ton to 10 tons, and they can easily crush ordinary people. Level 3 Life Forms, Professional level life forms, refer to the classification obtained by those mysterious magicians. Strength-type strong men generally have more than 10 tons of strength, and the top level 3 life forms can have 100 tons of strength. Non-strength type strong men can display various supernatural powers and easily defeat an armed team. They are already the core strength of the extraordinary ranks. The 4th level life form, the legendary life form, is no longer limited to the so-called strength data, etc., and has the power to destroy a town head-on, which is enough to be called a legend in the world. It is a walking threatening nuclear weapon. The legendary life form of the flesh can even use its own body to resist nuclear bombs. To read the exciting novels, go to Philonovel Network. This is impossible. Instantly, there was a violent noise below, and a piercing roar. Norman Osborn below screamed in shock. Caliban took a look and recognized the other party's identity. Not only was he a wealthy tycoon, but he was also one of the few non-superhumans who were invited. There were very few such people, but almost every one of them was deliberately invited by the boss. As for the boss's plan and purpose, Caliban didn't know, and he wouldn't ask more. He wasn't angry about Norman Osborn's questioning. Caliban took out a card that looked very unusual from his body, and swiped it in the air. In an instant, a series of pictures appeared in the air. After doing this, Caliban said no more and motioned everyone to watch. Almost at the same time, everyone was attracted by these pictures. At this time, Caliban would naturally not do some meaningless actions for no reason. These pictures might have some big secrets. The picture was a person, a man whose appearance could not be seen clearly, and whose face was covered by a mysterious golden light. That light was very familiar. Whether they arrived or Caliban appeared, there was a similar light. Obviously, he was also an insider of the black market. The mysterious man walked in a military base, just walking indifferently. Everyone, all the soldiers in the army, seemed to have not seen him at all, and let him walk indifferently in the military base. This scene gave people an inexplicable sense of horror. Soon, the mysterious man came to a heavily guarded place, and entered it easily as before, until the other party came to a special thing, an extremely huge warhead. The moment the audience saw this warhead, they lost their voices instantly. It was not difficult for anyone to recognize that it was a nuclear warhead. A real nuclear warhead is not a joke. I don't know how the mysterious man took the nuclear warhead away. A moment later, the crazy alarm sounded in the military base. The scene turned, and the mysterious man appeared again. This time he appeared in a desert area, standing quietly in one place, as if waiting for something. The audience below, if their IQ is not very touching, have already guessed at this moment, and their eyes widened instantly, staring at the screen, not blinking, for fear of missing a picture. As expected, the next moment, a huge nuclear warhead fell from the sky, aiming directly at the mysterious man below. Faced with the arrival of this ultimate weapon of mankind, the mysterious man neither ran away nor was he terrified or desperate, but clenched his fist and punched the nuclear bomb. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion resounded through the sky, and a terrifying mushroom cloud rose up instantly. The airwaves and shock waves were ruthlessly destroying everything. The earth and even the screen were shaking violently at this moment, showing the destructive power of this ultimate weapon of mankind. A moment later, the shock wave of the nuclear weapon continued to spread, and a figure stepped out from the terrifying mushroom cloud that covered the sky and the sun. Hiss! 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 At this moment, there were gasps one after another at the scene, and everyone's face changed with shock. Even Magneto couldn't help but feel a dry throat at this moment. He is a mutant bipolar, and his strength is unquestionable. Just like Caliban said before, if Magneto bursts out with all his strength, it is not impossible to destroy a town. Magneto has always been confident in his strength. But at this moment, Fuck! This is still a human. Can the human body be so powerful? Huff, huff. Fortunately, I didn't act impulsively just now, and patiently listened to Caliban's nagging for a few more words. If I didn't listen to anything and went crazy and attacked the so-called core area without saying anything, and encountered a monster with a body that could withstand nuclear bombs, maybe, I would die very handsomely. Chapter 62. Could this picture be fake? Someone whispered. At this time, it was Norman Osborn who had questioned it before, who responded with a confused and shocked look. No, it's not fake. The 4th Military District did lose a nuclear bomb. As a tycoon and a super rich man, Norman Osborn naturally has the means to contact the military. As for how he knew this secret, the military was panicked after losing the nuclear bomb, and had to find ways to get it back quickly. Their own strength was not enough, and they dared not look for other military districts. Some close-knit financial groups were a good choice. After all, large financial groups almost spanned multiple countries and had a great influence. At this time, someone else added there was indeed a nuclear bomb explosion in the Black Desert not long ago, and it is said that many people died. Very good, it directly proves that everything is true. Not to mention other people, at this moment, Norman Osborn's heart was in turmoil, and it took a long time to calm down. Their Osborn family has a family genetic disease. He has always wanted to cure the disease. Genetic drugs are also one of his main research directions. But in the final analysis, he has always been just for the treatment of the disease. As for the so-called extraordinary 817 and the so-called power, he doesn't really care. After all, in this country where capital is rampant, no matter how strong the power is, it's nothing. At most, he can be a super bodyguard. But at this moment, his long-standing concepts were shattered, and his 3 views collapsed directly. It turned out that the ultimate extraordinary is such a scene, so incredible. It makes people crazy. Facing the body that can directly resist nuclear bombs, disease? What kind of disease can hurt that kind of body? Cancer? For such a physique, it's just a joke. Norman Osborn clenched his fists tightly, hard, so hard that the veins on the back of his hands almost burst. Extraordinary! Extraordinary! Norman Osborn roared in his heart. At this moment, he had a greater desire in his life than curing diseases. At this moment, at the highest point of the entire Hell's Kitchen, 2 people were peeking at the scene below through a picture. That Norman Osborn, my heart is moved. Black Cat Felicia said with interest. More than just a heartbeat, he will go crazy. Rock swayed a glass of red wine and said lightly. CDFH, but, What's the use of him? He's just an ordinary person. He is not an ordinary person. He is one of the leaders of the peripheral forces I selected. The extraordinary, while being above the ordinary, must also have a certain connection with the ordinary and be supported by the ordinary. This is the true perfection of the extraordinary power. So, you deliberately stole a nuclear bomb and then performed such a nuclear bomb resistance as a deterrent. Rock did not comment, but just smiled slightly. The black cat Felicia suddenly asked curiously, come to think of it, you really resisted a nuclear bomb? Maybe, maybe not, who knows, Rock said with a playful expression. Black cat Felicia curled her lips and tried to be mysterious again. However, according to her understanding of Rock, it is estimated that at least half of the probability is true, and the other half is that some means were used, which are very covert, at least to make others think it is true. By the way, you resisted the nuclear bomb not only to deter Norman Osborn, but also to deter those superhumans. Rock nodded and did not refute this point. There are many black markets, so how to be the only one? The extreme power, the alluring mystery, and the sufficient sense of security, all these together make this land the most mysterious and desired place in the minds of those guys. Black Cat immediately understood, no wonder it was so complicated. In fact, your previous scene of Genesis should have a better deterrent effect. Rock shook his head. That was certainly deterrent enough, but it also exposed a problem. In the black market, I am the only one holding the brunt. It is not a wise choice to let others see all the cards. Sufficient mystery is also a means to attract those guys. To read exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. At this time, in the outer layer of Hell's Kitchen, Caliban looked at the shocked and silent people below and said elegantly, everyone, this is one of the high-ranking personnel of the Hell's Kitchen black market, a true physical legend, what do you think? Very strong. Magneto said seriously. Professor X also nodded. It is indeed incredibly powerful. The two strongest ones have already expressed their opinions, not to mention the others, some are fanatical, some are in awe. At this moment, the deterrent effect reaches its peak. However, this is not the ultimate in power. Magneto's eyes suddenly shrank. Is there a level above level 4? Caliban did not answer, but said in a mysterious tone. Level 4, can be called a legend in the world, it is the pinnacle of the extraordinary, but not the pinnacle of power. Legend in the world. The pinnacle of the extraordinary. Anyone who is not stupid will have thoughts in his mind when thinking of these two titles. Level 4 is a legend in the world, so what about above the world? The extraordinary has reached the extreme, what about transcending the extraordinary? In the legend, is it the realm of gods? Level 4 strongmen can already withstand nuclear bombs, so what is the difference between the existence that transcends level 4 and the legendary gods? The most important thing is, Caliban said before that Magneto, a level 4, can only fight to the inner layer and is not qualified to enter the core layer. In other words, Hell's Kitchen has gods. Hiss. Off the field, there were gasps again. Okay, everyone, I have already told you one way to enter the other layers, now it is time to tell you another one. At this moment, even the proudest Magneto was quiet and listened like a student. He was proud and powerful, but facing this monster that had a body that could withstand nuclear bombs and was suspected of having the power of God, if he was still proud, he would be courting death. As for fighting, Magneto had no idea at this moment, and he didn't even have the idea of breaking into the inner layer. Yes, Caliban said he could break into the inner layer, but the problem was that the monster that could withstand nuclear bombs was most likely in that layer. If he rushed in rashly and was punched by the monster head-on, hiss. Just thinking about it, Magneto felt his hair tingling. He couldn't stand it, he couldn't stand it. Now, follow me, the second method is inside. Believe me, you will like it, at least most of you will like it. Chapter 63. Led by Caliban, a group of people marched through a light gate. The moment they entered, they seemed to be in a new world. Just now, the outer area was still high in the sun, like a hot summer, but now it has become spring when everything revives. The middle area is different from the simple outer area. Not only is the temperature here set to be constant, it is like spring all year round. More importantly, it has an energy called magic factor. Magic factor, what is that? A superhuman who likes scientific research couldn't help but ask. Magic factor is a kind of energy, which can be understood as magic, mana, or what is often called spiritual energy in the East. Even ordinary mortals can have a certain chance of entering the extraordinary realm by absorbing magic factor. Most of the people present are mutants. Since the moment the mutants' talents awaken, most of their potential and abilities have been basically fixed. At most, they can only try to do some technical research. It is impossible for them to become stronger. You mean, some high-level mutants were excited here, can low-level mutants like us become stronger? Yes, in theory it is. This was like a bucket of cold water poured down my head. Why in theory? Because the concentration of magic factor here is too low. Caliban sighed. Why is this? Because, our world originally did not have magic factor. Yes, it's a very fucked up phenomenon. In such a high-level world as the Marvel world, there is no such thing as magic factor. There are gods, a large number of gods, countless extraordinary beings, and single universe-level existences above the gods, multidimensional greatness, which can be called the top world in all the heavens and worlds. But, Marvel just doesn't have magic factor. Rock has also studied this reason, but he didn't find any problems. As for Camartage and the like, Camartage cultivates mental power, and then uses stronger mental power to intercept power from the dimensional demon god. They don't play with things like magic. In addition, Asgard, a country that even has magic gods, the situation is more confusing. Maybe they have their own methods. Anyway, there is absolutely no magic factor on Earth. The magic factor here is also obtained by our black market high level through mysterious means. Different concentrations of magic factors are designed in each layer. The magic factor in the middle area has the lowest concentration. What's the use then? Some people are extremely depressed. They just learned that there is a way to become stronger, and now they are told this cruel reality. Their hearts are broken. What is the use? Immersed in the air with magic factors, some magic factors inadvertently absorbed can improve your physique, slightly cure your illness, colds and fevers, etc., and can also be used as the highest level of nourishment, allowing any ordinary person to live to 100 or even 110 years old. What's the use of it? The guy who was originally frustrated suddenly widened his eyes and was simply dumbfounded. The lowest concentration of magic factors is so magical. The higher concentration of magic factors. Inadvertently, many people looked towards the deeper direction of Hell's Kitchen, and their throats were inexplicably dry. Even Norman Osborn had a complicated expression at this moment. He had a vague feeling that if he lived here all the time, the genetic disease of the Osborn family would be strongly curbed, and the symptoms would be at least reduced by half. It was just an outrageous one. The problem that the Osborn family had not solved for generations, now suddenly learned that as long as they lived in one place, they didn't even need to be treated. Previous generations of Osborn would go crazy if they knew this news. Although Norman Osborn complained like this, he couldn't suppress the smile on his face. Looking around, Norman Osborn clenched his fists. Stay, you must stay. Not only him, at this moment, many people secretly made the decision to stay. Well, what I said before is the most basic treatment. As a middle-class person, there are more than just those basic things. Hearing this, everyone present was instantly excited. In the middle, it is divided into 3 parts. The first, and more core, is the commercial area. We in Hell's Kitchen are the black market, not some church or organization, so the commercial area for transactions is naturally the top priority. The commercial area is very grand, but in fact, it is not much different from a normal commercial area. The only difference is that this is the commercial area in the middle of Hell's Kitchen, and it is definitely not the same level as those glamorous goods outside. Next, it is the residential area. Naturally, there is no need to introduce it in detail. Anyone who is not stupid knows what it is for. Excuse me, what are the prices of the residential areas here? Capital tycoon Norman Osborn has already started to think about it. Playing with real estate is a basic skill of a mature capitalist. Caliban glanced at him and said in an inexplicable tone, if you want to use money or make some capital operations, you will be disappointed. If you want to rent or buy a house here, you don't need US dollars, but points. In addition, if you want to rent a store in a commercial area, you also need points. How do I get these points? Norman Osborn asked. He has already made this the top priority of the next capital operation. As for not being able to use US dollars? That's okay. As long as we find a way, there are many places where US dollars can be used. This is what I want to say next. In Hell's Kitchen, except for the outer area, each area has a special exclusive area, and the exclusive area in the middle area is, here. Caliban spread his hands, as if to embrace the entire area. Everyone looked over, and suddenly, a magnificent and huge arena appeared in everyone's sight. At this time, Caliban's voice sounded again. To read the exciting novel, go to Philonovel Network. Exclusive event for the Middle Zone, Arena Battle. Superhumans like us are born superior to ordinary people. Who doesn't want to have a contest of flesh against flesh, a collision of extraordinary against extraordinary? Here, you can show your strength to your heart's content, fight against others, and even kill each other. Don't worry about getting injured. As long as you survive, any injury can be healed here. Every time you defeat an opponent, you will be rewarded with points, and as long as you have enough points, you can get almost everything. One bottle of this potion can make you look younger again. A magical plant that doubles your strength out of thin air. When worn, it can unleash all kinds of magical powers, and can be called a magical prop. Even, directly open a new extraordinary system. It's all here, it's all possible. At this moment, not to mention the others, even Magneto was ready to move. Magneto was very strong, and that was why he wanted to be stronger. He wanted to be stronger than ever. Only Professor X managed to remain calm. It was not that he did not want to become stronger. Any superhuman, no matter how good his temper was, would have the idea and desire to become stronger. Caliban, can we only fight? What about those who are not very good at fighting like me? When these words came out, more than 90% of the people present twitched their mouths. What a not very good at fighting. As a bipolar mutant, a fourth-level mutant who can be called a legendary life form, you say you are not good at fighting. Very good, you are right, definitely right. Who dares to say it is not right? Not afraid of being beaten by this person who claims to be not good at fighting. Caliban took a deep breath and forced himself not to let his expression become distorted. Of course, we have already thought of this. In fact, it is not suitable for a psychic like you to fight with others, so we have specially divided the arena into different types. There are physical arenas for those who like hand-to-hand combat, there are psychic arenas for professors like you who excel at psychic combat, there are energy arenas for those who excel at energy attacks, and then there are mixed arenas where you can use a little bit of everything. In addition, you don't necessarily have to fight. We also have a scientific research arena to compete in extraordinary research. Please rest assured that we have planned every aspect perfectly so that every superhuman can find the arena they like. In addition, if someone can be the number one in a certain arena for a long time and reach the standard we set, he will become the champion. The champion can not only obtain a large number of rewards, but more importantly, he can have the opportunity to move to the next level, which is the inner level. Hiss! As soon as these words came out, the audience gasped again. The inner layer is an area that can only be entered by level 4 legends. Just think about it and you will know that it must be more mysterious and unique than the middle area. It's not fair. Suddenly someone shouted. Mr. Caliban, according to what you said, we all have different levels here, level 2, level 3, and even level 4. In a battle of different levels, we have no chance of winning at all. Caliban smiled slightly. We naturally thought of this. First of all, players above level 3 cannot participate in the ring battle. Below level 3, there are also level 3 and level 2 arenas. Level 3 experts are absolutely not allowed to appear in the level 2 arena, but level 2 extraordinary experts can enter the level 3 arena. Everyone, a friendly reminder, we in the black market high UPS very much welcome powerful second level players to compete in the third level arena. If you can get a good result, such as top 10, you will get an extremely generous reward. Believe me, the reward will not be much worse than becoming the champion. In addition, if there is a level 2 strongman, he can become the level 3 ring champion. Our boss has deliberately given an order that such a genius can make a condition to the black market. With the strength of our black market, believe me, this is equivalent to giving you a chance to make a wish. There are very few things that our black market cannot do. Of course, you can't ask for something stupid like becoming the master of the black market or the master of the earth. Haha, Mr. Caliban, don't worry, any normal person would not make such a request. Chapter 64. Caliban led two people to a new boundary. Magneto, Professor X, you two will have to go there in person. Even if we are insiders, we cannot enter the inner circle at will. Our black market executives are waiting for you two inside. Magneto nodded indifferently, and Professor X said gently, go and do your own thing, and we'll have a good chat next time. Of course, no problem. It's my honor. Caliban stepped back, and Magneto and Professor X stepped in without hesitation. There was some fear, but it was impossible to say that they were in awe or too scared to enter. As level 4, those physical legends could withstand nuclear bombs, just because they were physical. Magneto and Professor X were definitely not as strong as them, but one of them was a psychic and the other was a calculation. If they really fought, well, if they really fought, they would probably not be able to win. That was not the physical strength that humans should have, and they could not break the defense at all. But with Professor X, the strongest psychic mutant, there would be no problem escaping, so what was there to be afraid of? Besides, as a mutant bipolar, he was not lacking in courage. Crossing a layer of substantial light membrane, it was like stepping into the middle layer for the first time. Everything changed drastically, as if he had arrived in a new world. Professor X sensed it slightly and couldn't help but exclaimed, it's worthy of being the inner layer. I could vaguely feel the so-called magic factor in the middle layer before. Here, it is clearly visible. The third level with a keen sense can sense it. The concentration is at least 10 times higher than the middle layer. Magneto frowned. The magnetic field seems to be more active. I have a vague feeling that my destructive power will become stronger here. You too, you can slowly feel the difference of the inner layer later. Now, let's get together. A voice came from all directions. Magneto almost subconsciously looked at Professor X. Magneto was only good at fighting, and he was definitely not as good as Professor X in terms of these tricks. Professor X's face was a little solemn. I don't understand the means at all, it must not be the power of the mind. The other party did not hide his location. He should be at the highest point. Let's go. Magneto released a magnetic force to control Professor X's wheelchair. The two walked side by side. Judging from their proficiency, they must have done it many times before. After a while, they arrived at the top of the tallest building. This was a room that was not too special. There was a person in the room, who was setting up tea sets, obviously waiting for the two people. Please take a seat, both of you. Professor X glanced at the familiar face opposite him and couldn't help but exclaimed. It's you. I didn't expect that in just a few months, you've built such a big business. It is worthy of being the most difficult existence to awaken in history. Rock did not comment, but just smiled. Professor, you have misunderstood something, I am just me. Professor X's expression slightly condensed. Aren't you the person behind this black market? Yes and no. Or rather, more than that. Professor X took a deep breath. He understood what Rock meant. Rock was a senior executive and the initiator, but not the only one. Looking at Professor X, who was lost in thought, Rock smiled without saying a word. The highest level of lies is 9 truths and 1 lie. Rock did not lie to this old friend. Apart from anything else, Black Cat made a great contribution to the establishment of the black market. Rock was indeed not the only one. Magneto sat down openly. I don't care about the complicated relationships between you. I just want to know, what is your purpose in calling us here? The purpose, I guess. I am going to invite you two to join the Legendary Council. The Council of Legends. Magneto raised his eyebrows. Is it a council formed by the level 4 legends you mentioned? What's the use of this thing? Mr. Magneto, what do you think of the current state of survival of superhumans? Magneto's face suddenly darkened. Although he was very unwilling, he still said in a deep voice, superhumans are resisted by all ordinary people. Many have even become damned experimental subjects. Bang! Magneto slammed his fist on the table. This was what he had been resisting and wanted to change. So, Mr. Magneto, why are you in this state? Not strong enough. Magneto gave the answer without hesitation. Right and wrong. Magneto looked up at Rock, waiting for Rock's explanation. Not being strong enough is one reason. There are actually quite a few superhumans. If the mutants alone were to spread to the whole world, there would be thousands or even tens of thousands of mutants. Add in other enhanced humans, mutants, and the like, and there would be even more. However, among so many superhumans, there are only a few truly powerful ones. Before the rise of the black market, there were only 2 of you who were level 4 superhumans. Although the 2 are strong, they are not enough to stop ordinary people from being interested in superhumans. I want to form a council of legends in order to bring together all the top combat forces. Every legend can be regarded as a walking nuclear weapon. If 1 or 2 are not enough deterrent, then 3 or 4, or even 10 or 20. When a legendary council with 20 legends appears in this world, all dark thoughts, unfair treatment, etc. will disappear in this power. Magneto widened his eyes, with obvious excitement on his face. If there really comes such a day, his long-cherished wish of letting mutants rise up will be realized in one step. I agree to join. Rock smiled faintly. Everyone has weaknesses. If you find the weaknesses, even a level 4 legend can be killed in one move. Where's the professor? Professor X did not reply directly, but asked curiously. You said before that the lack of superhuman strength is not the only reason why superhumans have a poor living environment. Magneto's sharp eyes immediately fell on Professor X. Charles, what are you talking about? I know you like gentle approaches and don't like my tough approach. However, forming a legendary parliament to deter those mortals and countries, is this also considered tough? To read the exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. Don't tell me that you are so gentle that you don't want to do such a thing. If that's the case, Charles, I will kill you, really. Don't doubt my words. Just joining an organization to form a deterrent force without taking action, if Professor X doesn't agree with this, Magneto can't accept it at all. At this time, the rising murderous intent in his body was almost not concealed at all. Professor X smiled bitterly. This old friend is really... To put it nicely, he is straightforward, to put it bluntly, he is just a fool. He just wanted to ask something clearly and he reacted so strongly. Rock spoke up to help Professor X out of the siege. The professor doesn't disagree, he just simply has some doubts. Good. Professor X's expression eased a lot. See, this is the right attitude to talk about things, unlike Eric, the fool. Inadvertently, Professor X glanced at Magneto. Magneto was instantly furious. Damn it, Charles, you have this damn expression again, do you really want to fight with me? Calm down. Rock uttered these two words, and instantly, it seemed as if a mysterious force spread out, sweeping over the two of them, forcing them to calm down. Magneto still glared at Professor X, but he was no longer so excited. As for Professor X, he looked at Rock deeply. After just a few months of not seeing each other, he could no longer see through Rock's strength. That's right, after all, sitting here to form the Legendary Council, the level of strength is obvious. Although, Professor X couldn't figure out how Rock had such power in just a few months. Professor, the living environment of superhumans is poor. On the one hand, the power above is not strong enough. On the other hand, superhumans are too mysterious and too extraordinary. Professor X frowned. He knew what too mysterious meant. Too extraordinary? Superhumans are already extraordinary, so how could they be too extraordinary? Extraordinary, extraordinary, beyond the ordinary. The extraordinary are certainly superior to ordinary people, but what will ordinary people think if we don't provide an equally extraordinary path that ordinary people can access? Desire, expectation, and finally even anger and hostility. Do ordinary people really hate superhumans so much? I don't think so. Just like a child who likes someone when he is young, he will deliberately make him angry. The reason why those big corporations, the military, etc. are so resistant to and resist superhumans is that they themselves cannot be superhuman. Who doesn't want to be forever young? Who doesn't want to have superhuman strength? If they like something, they want it. If they can't get it, they will develop a rebellious mentality. If superhumans don't give it to them, they will take it themselves. The ex-priest nodded solemnly, and Magneto beside him seemed to be lost in thought. So, we set up a black market. What is a black market? It is a trading market. Since it is a transaction, customers have opportunities. What we can do is to give opportunities and choose the right customers. When there are more and more customers, a force will spontaneously form to protect the interests of the superhuman group. At that time, everything about superhumans will slowly change. The changes below, and the use of the Legendary Council to deter certain ideas that should not exist, I don't need to say more about what the final result will be. Wheeze, 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 Magneto's breathing has become extremely rapid. Magneto suddenly turned around and stared at Professor X. Charles, what are you waiting for? This is our chance, the chance for all of us superhumans. It's also the chance for us mutants. Professor X was silent for a moment, then nodded resolutely. I agree to join too. No matter how good-tempered he is still a mutant, a member of the superhuman race, and it is inevitable for him to protect the interests of superhumans, but he used to prefer gentler means. However, there is a problem. What is the problem? Could it be that the so-called Legendary Council is just the three of us? Magneto was also stunned. Good man, he was so excited by what he said. In the end, it would be funny if there were really only three of us. Of course not. Rock shook his head and snapped his fingers. The next moment, the surrounding scene changed rapidly like a kaleidoscope. A moment later, the three of them appeared in a mysterious pure white space. In the middle was a huge table, divided into various directions. Rock sat at the head, and Magneto and X-Men sat on both sides, in the middle. The next moment, illusory figures gradually appeared in the other seats. First, there was an extremely charming woman. Just a glance at her made people feel hot all over. This didn't look like a person, but more like a witch, or even the legendary succubus. The ruler of the Witch Kingdom, the Witch King, the legendary witch, the legendary pharmacist. Soon, the second figure also gradually stared. It was another woman, but unlike the Witch King who charmed everyone, the new one exuded a wildness all over her body, and her eyes were as sharp as a female leopard. The Night Beast King Hunter, the strongest hunter, the legendary hunter. The last one was an extremely mysterious person, wearing a black robe that covered everything. His appearance could not be seen clearly, and even his gender could not be determined. And this last one, the most special legend, God Slayer. Professor X's eyes suddenly shrank, and he took a deep look at the last one, God Slayer. Is this a nickname? Or? As for Magneto, he didn't have these ideas, he was just excited. There are not only 3 people, but 6. There are 6 people here, that is, 6 legends. The deterrent force formed by this condensation, I just want to ask if the White House dares to say a few more words. Chapter 65. Professor X was silent, while Magneto excitedly greeted the nearest legend. The one closest to him was the legendary hunter. However, the legendary hunter just glanced at him with his extremely sharp eyes. His eyes were very indifferent, shook his head, turned around and disappeared without a trace. It seemed that he said nothing, but it seemed that he said everything. Magneto's temples bulged, and his fists clenched, unclenched, and clenched again. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "What does she mean?" "It's nothing, I just want to show my contempt for you." The Witch King responded. Legendary hunters only like to fight with powerful lives and enjoy the fun of hunting. You, an incomplete legend, obviously do not meet this requirement. You may not even be able to beat the top 3 under my command. After saying this, the Witch King disappeared without a trace. The last look in her eyes before leaving was contempt, naked contempt. Huff, huff, Magneto's breathing was as rapid as a bellows, and he looked like he was about to explode. Even the magnetic field around him began to become disordered and riot unconsciously. "Eric, old man, don't be so impulsive. I can listen to Rock's explanation. He has more experience than us, so he should understand what they are talking about." Hearing this, Magneto 24 took a deep breath, and then another one, almost bursting his lungs, before he suppressed his rage that was on the verge of extinction. "Rock, right? What do they mean?" Rock seemed to be organizing his words. He thought for a while before saying, "This should be considered a natural defect of you mutants." As soon as these words came out, not only Magneto, but also Professor X was instantly attracted to his attention. Then Rock continued to narrate. Mutants are those who have awakened the mutant genes in their bodies and naturally acquired extraordinary abilities. They only need to be developed to have outstanding expressiveness. I won't mention the upper limit of mutants here. Magneto, Professor, don't you feel that your abilities are too single or too one-sided? Magneto frowned. Professor X was thinking. If that's the case, it's still not clear. A beam of light instantly condensed from Rock's fingertips, a dazzling light. My ability is light, the fastest speed in the world, with an extreme speed of 0.13 seconds to go around the Earth. Magneto was shocked. He always knew that the person in front of him was very strong. After all, to form the Council of Legends, he must be on the same level as him. But, light, someone can actually control such a heaven-defying ability. Just relying on the speed of light, this is the power of natural invincibility. A terrible guy. Magneto silently gave an evaluation in his heart. Magneto, your talent is to control magnetic fields. You can fight and resist, and you can also destroy everything on a large scale. It is a very comprehensive and excellent ability. But one thing is for sure, your body and your physique far outweigh your talent, and your ultimate attack power may even be stronger than that of an average legend. However, as long as other legends spare your power and focus on attacking your body, just like me, do you think you can escape death? Magneto was silent for a moment. He was proud, but not stupid. With a light speed attack, he would probably be killed instantly. This was even more of a hindrance to him than the physical body resisting a nuclear bomb. Then again, the light system can restrain him, the physical body legend can restrain him, and the mind system can restrain him. It seemed like every legend was restraining him. He was inexplicably angry. It seems that you have figured it out. Your physical weakness is too obvious. This is also a common shortcoming of most mutants except for those with physical strength. That's why those two think you are an incomplete legend, and they all have ways to kill you instantly. Not only level 4, because of this fatal flaw, some special level 3 can kill Magneto, such as speed. Magneto's flaw is too obvious. In the novel, he is an important character who fights against opponents of higher levels. Of course, he definitely can't jump levels, he is the one who is jumped over. 1 second, 2 seconds. Magneto, who barely calmed down, frowned and asked, "No, your power is light, can other legends block a blow from the speed of light?" This is the speed of light, he was at a loss just thinking about it. How to block this kind of power? He admitted that he had weaknesses, but he didn't believe that other guys could directly ignore the speed of light. Yes. Rock affirmed. Magneto suddenly raised his head and looked straight at Rock, waiting for Rock's explanation. A legendary hunter, her fighting instinct has been integrated into her bones and soul. Even if her body cannot react, her fighting reaction nerves, which have developed to the extreme, can spontaneously defend in an instant. She can block my attack head-on. The Witch King is the top magician. No one knows how many cards she has. Even if you kill her 100 times, you may only kill her puppets or clones, and you can't find her real body at all. To read the exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. The God Slayer, that one is even more special. As for how special he is, sorry, this is one of the top secrets of the black market. Magneto was stunned. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something, but he felt that he couldn't say anything. So, he was the only one who would be killed instantly? His face began to become darker and darker. This feeling of being despised by everyone and being unable to refute made him very angry. The key is that he didn't know how to explode. Wait. Magneto suddenly seemed to have thought of something, and his face was full of excitement. Where's Charles? Charles is a mutant like me, his body is not as strong as mine, not counting my abilities, I can beat 3 of him. As he said that, he gestured at his not-so-developed muscles. The corner of Professor X's mouth twitched. Good fellow, you are looking for someone to die with you, right? The professor is different. His body is indeed weaker than yours, but if I am not mistaken, the professor's mental power has reached the level of being able to interfere with reality. With this mental strength, the death of the body is not the end. Magneto suddenly widened his eyes. What do you mean? This means that even if the body dies, the professor will not die. He can even take over a body and continue to live. In some cases, the professor can actually live forever. For such a professor, the weakness of the flesh is no longer important. Silence. After a few seconds of silence, Magneto suddenly stood up, walked a few steps towards Professor X, and strangled him by the neck. Come on, Charles, how many secrets are you hiding from me? Let's talk about it. You. Still keeping something from your old friend, right? You're not telling him a secret, right? You don't want to die with him, right? You're actually such a Charles. Professor X said to Rock, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Send us back first. Eric has suffered a lot. Let me have a good talk with him. Of course, no problem. With a wave of his hand, the two figures disappeared instantly. Not long after the two, a figure emerged again, came to Rock's side, and directly nestled in Rock's arms. It turned out to be the Witch King who had left before. This legendary parliament is quite interesting, but it's a pity that it's fake. Are you trying to fool those two powerful guys? Fake. Rock chuckled. Isn't it fake? He even summoned me to act here, and mocked the guy called Magneto. He also wanted to suppress his arrogance. Rock shook his head slightly. The current strength is indeed not real, but it is not fake either. It is just my deduction of your future strength based on your performance. In other words, you will all be legends sooner or later, it just takes some time. Even with the talents of the girls, it is not impossible to be above legends. The Witch Queen's beautiful eyes lit up. You mean, I can also become a legend? Certainly. Except for the current strength, everything else is true. I really want to form a legendary council of more than 20 people. Once it succeeds, it will be a powerful force in any world. As for whether there are so many potential legends, it's a joke. Not counting the fairy tale world, there are quite a few people in the pure Marvel world who have the potential to grow into legends. In the original work, the number of people marked as having the potential of level 5 mutants is close to double digits. Of course, most of them are just potential, which requires a long time to grow and develop. And this is exactly the purpose of the black market. A legendary council gathers all legends, a ring battle gathers all geniuses, heroes in the world, and everything is in the palm of your hand. And all Rock needs to pay is some extraordinary resources that can be copied in batches. Chapter 66. In the Blue Deer Cafe, a waitress was bending over to clean the stains on the table. This was obviously a very common and normal action, but at this moment, almost all the men in the entire cafe were glancing in this direction intentionally or unintentionally. Cautiously peeking, just peeking, everyone blushed. There was no way, the waitress's figure was too hot. The work clothes, which were relatively loose, were stretched like tights. Just bending over slightly, the disc-like buttocks could seduce a man's soul. Not only men, but even some women, were dazzled by the sight. This was a beauty that was so charming that women would be tempted. Natasha naturally felt the gazes of others, but she didn't care about those. After all, she knew how tempting her figure was to others. As the Black Widow of SHIELD, she was famous throughout the SHIELD for her hot and sexy figure. At this time, Natasha, who was wiping the table, was glancing in one direction from time to time. That was Hell's Kitchen, and it was one of the largest and most visited exits of Hell's Kitchen. Ever since S.H.I.E.L.D. discovered the changes in Hell's Kitchen, she has been hiding in this cafe, secretly monitoring the entire Hell's Kitchen. However, to her disappointment, although she had been attentive enough, she did not find any problems. Natasha never doubted her professionalism, but this only proved that there was something wrong with Hell's Kitchen. Natasha frowned a little, wondering if she should try another method next, such as finding a way to sneak into Hell's Kitchen and take a look. While thinking about this, Natasha's eyes were still glancing in the direction of Hell's Kitchen intentionally or unintentionally. Hey! Suddenly, Natasha was stunned for a moment, and quickly regained her attention, looking carefully at a store. Unlike the Blue Deer Cafe, which was located opposite Hell's Kitchen, the store she was looking at was located right in Hell's Kitchen. An ordinary store was not strange, but the strange thing was that in her memory, the store was very calm, and no one had entered the store for at least an hour. Natasha believed in her memory very much. So the question is, why would someone walk out of a store that no one had entered? Did someone enter before she noticed? Natasha's beautiful eyes condensed slightly. Although this was possible, she felt something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what was wrong for a while. However, following the agent's instinct, Natasha's attention began to be distracted to the store. 10 minutes later, Natasha was stunned for a moment. 3 people appeared. 20 minutes later, Natasha bit her lip. 8 people appeared. 30 minutes later, her temples began to throb fiercely. 21 people appeared. It was just an ordinary store, not even as big as the coffee shop where she was staying. The whole store looked less than 80 square meters. So the question is, if no one went in, where did those damn 21 people come from, assholes? Soon, Natasha became a little excited. People can't appear for no reason. That store must have some kind of secret passage. Without hesitation, Natasha turned around and asked for leave from her boss. Jane, with just a simple wink, she bewitched her boss and got him to take leave easily. She didn't mind the job of a waitress, but everything was not certain yet, and this job to hide her identity was still necessary. Without changing her clothes, Natasha walked towards the store opposite. This was an unmanned store with a whole row of vending machines. Natasha walked to one of the vending machines and pretended to study the product. In fact, her eyes were scanning every corner sharply. Suddenly, Natasha's beautiful eyes shrank, and she noticed a small door in the corner, which looked unremarkable. Obviously, this must be the entrance to the secret passage. She wanted to explore it, but now she could not go directly there. It was too presumptuous and might cause unnecessary trouble. Her eyes began to intentionally or unintentionally scan every corner, looking for the existence of monitoring equipment. At this moment, with a creak, the door was opened. Natasha was not flustered. She randomly selected an item and hummed a tune. She looked leisurely and did not arouse any suspicion. The door was opened and a man walked out. He was a thin man. I didn't know him and had never seen him before. However, the expression of this man at this moment was very interesting. Shock, fanaticism, and a little fear and awe. Various expressions gathered on one face, and the whole face looked a little abstract. The man was a little absent-minded. He turned the door and didn't pay attention to anything else. He walked out with a stiff movement. This gentleman. A very charming voice made the man slightly sober. He turned around subconsciously and his eyes lit up instantly. Beauty, super beauty. What's the matter, ma'am? The man said in a gentlemanly manner. Natasha's delicate and sexy face showed a little shyness. Sorry sir, you know, there are always some inconvenient times. I am looking for. The words were intermittent, but the man understood the meaning instantly. Just as he was about to say something, he heard the beauty in front of him continue. Excuse me, sir, is that the restroom? Restroom. The man's expression suddenly became strange. When leaving Hell's Kitchen, a special person said that the real Hell's Kitchen is not in contact with reality. In other words, even if you cross the entire area, you cannot enter the real Hell's Kitchen. Only qualified people can enter and exit the real Hell's Kitchen. When leaving the real Hell's Kitchen, in order to avoid some unnecessary trouble, they will walk out of some special portals. The insiders of Hell's Kitchen like to call this portal a teleportation point, because it is very similar to the teleportation point to another world in the game. Obviously, behind that door is one of the teleportation points. No, that's not the bathroom. The man said with a strange look on his face. Really? But I saw several people coming in and out. The beauty frowned slightly, and her expression and other expressions all revealed whether you were lying. Beautiful women always arouse men's favor, but when someone you just met questions you, even if she is a great beauty, it is easy to arouse disgust. Men are now a little disgusted. If you don't believe me, go in and take a look. After saying that, the impatient man turned around and prepared to leave. A sexy woman is indeed very tempting, but now he has more important things to do. He needs to return to his residence as soon as possible and share his amazing experience of the day with other people of the same kind. Is it really possible? Whatever you want. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Natasha really took advantage of this conversation and walked towards the door. Obviously, it was Natasha's plan to arouse the man's disgust and take the opportunity to go over and check. When Natasha opened the door and looked at the situation in front of her, she was stunned. Behind the door was not the mysterious passage she guessed, and the things in the whole space could be seen at a glance. This was actually a small room, a very small room, about 10 square meters. After a moment of silence, Natasha walked forward and seemed to be curious and groped around. In fact, she was checking whether there was any secret passage. This space was really small, and she quickly checked it. No, there was really no secret passage. Natasha frowned, and after a moment of silence, she retreated and closed the door. Just as she was about to leave, with a click, the door was opened again, and another person came out. Natasha's eyes widened instantly. Fuck, how could it be possible? After waiting for the man to leave, Natasha went in again to check, this time more carefully. She even checked the floor and ceiling, but still found nothing. She closed the door again, and after a moment, there was another click, and someone opened the door and walked out. What fuck? Natasha couldn't help but swear. She opened the door again and checked again. No problem. She closed the door and after a moment, there was another click and someone came out. Natasha rushed in again, checked, came out, someone opened the door again, rushed in again, checked, opened the door. The whole process was repeated. Natasha's expression changed from curiosity at the beginning, to shock, to confusion, irritability, and finally, to complete dullness and numbness. At this time, in Hell's Kitchen, in front of a light curtain. Phew, ha 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 ha, the black cat Felicia hugged herself up with laughter, her chest was filled with turbulent waves. She, that agent, is so funny, look at her expression, ha ha ha, a completely broken expression, ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter. Rock glanced at the black cat helplessly. Cats, after all, always like to play. Natasha, they had discovered it long ago. Rock was not prepared to do anything to the Black Widow in the original book. She was just an agent. Hell's Kitchen was isolated by a barrier and she couldn't get in at all. Why bother about those things? The Black Cat, however, became interested and deliberately wanted to tease Natasha, and then he discovered the following scene. In order to facilitate the entry and exit of superhumans, Rock must have set up 10 similar teleportation points, located in various locations in Hell's Kitchen. For fun, the black cat Felicia deliberately only used the one in front of Natasha, teasing Natasha like teasing a cat. Finally, after laughing enough, the black cat Felicia turned her eyes. Should we catch that little agent? An agent should be interrogated properly. Haha, Rock glanced at her, you want to interrogate? It's obviously just for fun. No, I know the organization behind her, a very annoying stupid bird organization. The entire organization is almost infiltrated by the enemy, and there are more enemies than our own people. Black Cat Felicia was stunned. There is such an organization? Is the leader of that organization a fool? It is a boiled egg in the late stage of paranoia. The boiled egg is nothing, but the person standing behind the boiled egg is a bit troublesome. Very strong. Rock nodded. Very strong. Strength surpasses that of a legend. Captain Marvel's strength is at least at the sub-god level. After all, she is an existence that can dominate the universe with her own strength. Black Cat stopped talking immediately. When she first gained her abilities, she felt that she could go anywhere and have fun with her abilities. Now that she thinks about it, she was really ignorant. Level 2 apprentice, Level 3 professional, Level 4 legend, and now even those above the legend are beginning to emerge. She is a little trash at Level 2 at most. She really needs to thank God for blessing her. She made so much noise, but she was not killed by anyone. So, how should she deal with it? There is no need to pay attention to her. The barrier of Hell's Kitchen cannot be broken even by the legend. This is the result of the manifestation of the power of the gods. No one can do anything about it except the true God and the Heavenly Father. Chapter 67. Hell's Kitchen, Middle Level. It has been more than a month since many superhumans were invited to visit Hell's Kitchen. It hasn't been long, but the development has been very good. The entire middle level has become extremely lively. Some people are setting up stalls, and some are opening shops. It really has the appearance of a black market. But if we talk about the biggest change, it must be the ring battle in the middle area. Superhumans have abilities beyond ordinary people. Who doesn't want to vent and show off the power they have gained to show their strength to others? At this time, in the ring battle, there is a physical ring, and superhumans who are good at physical strength are fighting wildly. The two people in the battle are not unfamiliar. One is the saber-toothed tiger under Magneto, and the other is his brother and mortal enemy Wolverine. Both of them are level 3, and they also have superhuman recovery ability. They fight like crazy, blood splatters, limbs are constantly broken, and then they continue to fight each other regardless of anything. It's even crazier than fighting desperately, and it's completely a fight to the death. Such a fierce battle has also attracted the attention of many superhumans. Loud shouts and roars connected together, making it very lively. In other arenas, fierce battles broke out at this time, and various energies were poured out. The extraordinary powers rarely seen in the outside world were all available here. Under each arena, there was an extremely mysterious space. Under the premise of various treatments provided by Hell's Kitchen, as long as they were not killed on the spot, they could be completely cured. Therefore, the guys on the arena fought so hard that broken limbs and debris were splashed everywhere, not to mention blood. And each arena seemed to have an automatic cleaning function, which could clean the blood and other things at any time. 473 However, no one knew that the large amount of blood shed by various superhumans finally came to the most special area of the entire middle layer under the arena along the hidden passages. At this time, this special space was filled with an extremely strong smell of blood, which was extremely pungent. In the middle of the entire space, there was a pool filled with scarlet liquid. This was a blood pool. Of course, it was not all blood, but various blood mixed with various drugs. In the middle of the pool, there was a figure, a huge, giant-like figure. At this time, this giant-like figure had his eyes closed, and seemed to be sleeping, but the fierce and violent aura around him became more and more terrifying as time went by. Click, click, click. Rock walked slowly to this area, noting the figure in the middle of the blood pool. Tempered with the blood of countless superhumans, some of whom have level 3 feelings, finally, the transformation is almost complete. The one in the pool is naturally one of Rock's biggest trump cards, the former Kingpin, and later the armored giant puppet. This armored giant puppet is a living puppet with the ability to grow, and as a rare grade, it has the potential to grow to the limit of the professional level. Tempered with the blood of countless superhumans, the armored giant puppet at this time is constantly soaring and spreading towards the limit of the professional level. Judging from the current transformation speed, the transformation will be completed in 3 days at most. By then, it will not only be Rock who will have a professional level giant puppet. The armored giant puppet that has reached the limit of the professional level only needs 1 drop of giant legendary blood, and there is a 50% chance of transforming on the spot and turning into a legendary puppet. And this is Rock's real purpose. He raised his eyes slightly and looked at the icon in the double penetration light curtain. Tinderbox, Alienation 2. This special fairy tale world will be the most special and possibly the most dangerous world Rock has ever encountered. The original Tinderbox world is already very destructive. The Tinderbox has the ability to summon dogs. The dogs summoned by the Tinderbox are bigger than each other. The largest one is even comparable to a house. The 3-headed dog joins forces and has the power to break through a country. The protagonist of the original work, with the help of the 3-headed dog summoned by the Tinderbox, directly forced the original king to abdicate, took someone else's position, and married someone else's daughter. This is just the original situation. The Tinderbox world after Alienation 2, the danger level is absolutely off the charts. The Little Red Riding Hood in Alienation 1 can produce a demigod body that almost reaches the ceiling of the professional level. Rock would rather die than believe that it will become weaker after Alienation 2. It is highly likely that legendary combat power will appear directly in this world, which is why Rock has not been in a hurry to go to this world. Cultivate the armored giant puppet to the extreme, and then clash with the golden giant dog in the tinderbox world that is suspected to have legendary combat power after alienation. The opponent is likely to meet the requirements of a giant legendary life. At that time, the armored giant puppet will be Rock's biggest help. Coupled with Rock's own strength that can fight legends head-on, the two join forces. Even if more than one legend emerges in the tinderbox world, Rock will not be afraid at all. Almost there, as time went by, Rock's face showed obvious satisfaction and expectation as he watched the armored puppet giant become more and more ferocious. Suddenly, Rock's ears moved, as if he was receiving some information. The next moment, Rock's figure suddenly turned into countless light particles and disappeared on the spot. In the middle floor of Hell's Kitchen, in a dedicated room. At this time, Caliban was waiting carefully and respectfully. As the Eye of Hell's Kitchen selected by Rock himself, Caliban was also a high-ranking official in the entire middle floor. This unprecedented feeling made him addicted, and at the same time, he became more cautious. It is precisely because of the experience that he never wants to lose it. At this time, Caliban did not do the seemingly endless superhuman work, but brought two people to this mysterious room. Below, Wanda and Pietro, a brother and sister, were looking at each other nervously and carefully at this time, and their palms were sweating. The two Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who shown in the original book, were just two young people who were immature and eager to become stronger. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light appeared out of nowhere. Seeing this scene, Caliban became more respectful and cautious, his head lowered more and more. Wanda and Pietro behind him also became more nervous, and their eyes showed strong expectations and enthusiasm. Yes, it was enthusiasm. Unlike most other superhumans, who only heard about the mystery of the top leaders of Hell's Kitchen, the two of them had actually come into contact with them. Although they had never seen the real person, but the golden light that fell from the sky and destroyed everything was like a punishment from heaven, completely destroying the entire Hydra base. From that moment on, the golden light left an indelible impression in the minds of the two people. So, after a period of consideration, they resolutely found Caliban. They wanted to become stronger and stronger to achieve their goals. And this person was the most suitable one they could find and understand. The next moment, a figure with a strong aura of a superior condensed out of thin air at his seat. Seeing the big boss appear, Caliban immediately lowered his head deeply. "My lord, these two little guys who have been marked by you and have high potential want to see you." Rock's eyes fell, skipping Caliban, and fell on Wanda and Pietro behind him. Oh, and then Rock looked calm and indifferent. Pietro gritted his teeth, pulled Wanda, and suddenly bent his legs, and both knelt on the ground. "Sir, we want to follow you and become stronger by following you. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. We are willing to pay everything, including loyalty." Pietro's eyes were full of fanaticism and madness. He and Wanda both had a grudge against the future Iron Man, the current playboy Tony Stark. In order to get revenge, they were willing to pay any price. The reason why they found the person in front of them was that they were all following the strong, so why not follow the strongest? Obviously, the person in front of him was the strongest in Pietro's cognition. There seemed to be a faint light surging in Rock's eyes. "Follow me to become stronger." "Yes, becoming stronger is our greatest wish, and we have something we have to do." In the original novel, in order to seek revenge on the playboy, the two were even willing to be Hydra's experimental subjects, just to gain power. You can imagine how great the hatred is. After all, both parents were killed by the thermal weapons of the Stark group. Rock's eyes swept over the two of them, and finally fell on Wanda's young but extremely exaggerated curves. "Wanda Maximoff, can you serve others?" Wanda hesitated for a moment, then gritted her teeth and said, "Not very well, but I will learn." Rock nodded. "From now on, stay by my side and be my maid." "Good." Rock turned his gaze to Pietro. As for you. Pietro's face was firm. I can do anything you ask me to do, even my life. Keep your life for yourself. Caliban, help him awaken the mutant gene, and then give him a strengthening potion. Yes, sir. Pietro's face suddenly became overjoyed, because due to the destruction of the Hydra base, their talents have not yet been activated, and now they are just ordinary people with potential. I'll give you 1 month to enter the top 8 of the ring battle. If you fail, you are useless and have no value in training. Pietro took a deep breath and said, I won't let you down. Chapter 68. The Lord of Pleasure is watching the world. He is the most special God. He likes the most ruthless disasters to destroy the most peaceful world. He likes everything to be broken and develop in the worst and craziest direction. He is a god, but not a god. He enjoys the disasters and despair brought by all the reversals. Now, his eyes fall on a soldier. Look, the most vulgar soldier, he will defeat the powerful witch, he will get the princess, and he will become the king. What a joy! Be happy, he 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 he. Luokjo frowned. Just like last time, these alienated worlds, once they descended, would get some descriptions of the gods. But this time, the Lord of Pleasure. Not an evil god or a demon god, but more like a madman. A god of fun. A crazy god of fun who worships reversals, appreciates inversions, and takes pleasure in all absurdities. Especially at the end, the laughter that sounded like a demonic sound carried a terrifying demonic nature, which was even crazier and more devilish than the most terrifying demon god. No wonder this world is so weird. The witch dared not touch the tinderbox, but she longed for it. She had the means to restrain the three-headed dog, but she could only let an ordinary soldier steal the tinderbox. In the end, the witch who was powerful enough to call the wind and rain was confused and killed by the most ordinary soldier. Then the soldier married the princess and became the king. The whole story was full of absurdity and spoof. After a moment of silence, Rock pulled open the light curtain. Lines of text emerged. The main quest has been activated. Current world, tinderbox. Alienation degree, 2. World strategy degree, 0%. Strategy task. Reversal of reversal, the god of pleasure who loves pleasure, make him happier. Every time you make the Lord of Pleasure feel happy, try to gain a certain degree of strategy. P.S. Power does not make him feel happy. Seeing the new task, Rock was stunned for a moment. What a weird task. It doesn't seem to be very difficult, but the problem is that most tasks tend to rebel against the camp of God. And this time the task is to join the camp of God? Then what's the point of this task? Once the influence of God on the world reaches a certain level, the world will no longer be able to prevent the advent of God, and everything will sink under the glory of God's divine power. Then there is still the reward for the strategy of the hammer world? Wait. Rock, who observed it repeatedly several times, suddenly noticed something and a strange expression appeared on his face. The whole task seems to be fine, but the prefix of the task, reversal of reversal. Rock seems to understand the true meaning of this task. This mission is quite interesting. With an inexplicable smile on his face, he seemed to have some inexplicable expectations. The next moment, Rock's figure suddenly disappeared from the spot. In the dense forest, there is such a graceful and plump woman. She used to be the wife of the king and enjoyed all the splendor and wealth. However, because of the defeat of the old king, the kingdom was occupied by the new king and she lost everything. The gorgeous dresses she used to wear became the coarsest linen clothes, and the delicacies she used to eat became apples, apples, and apples. She hated apples, especially those damn green, unripe apples, full of bitter sourness. However, no matter how much she hated them, she had to eat them. A former noble lady did not have the necessary skills to survive in a forest, especially a dangerous forest. She could only eat these damn green apples to fill her stomach. She was unwilling, strongly unwilling. She wanted to take everything back and wanted to enjoy the life of a superior person again. She resented the new king and was extremely jealous of him for taking everything from her, even though the new king actually rebelled against the former tyrant in order to restore order and let the people live a good life. She didn't care whether the old king was a tyrant or not. She just wanted to return to that honorable position and enjoy the endless wealth and splendor. Finally, she found a way. She was favored by God. She was excited and crazy. She began to use the fastest way to worship God. In the dark underground, strange blue lights were looming. The walls around were inlaid with pale heads. The empty eyes stared at one direction. Even the most brave and skilled soldiers could not help but feel palpitations. At this moment, this former noble lady, for the sake of greed in her heart, restrained her fear and came to the deepest part of the underground. She saw a strange statue whose true appearance could not be seen. The noble lady didn't care about those things. She bent down and called the prayer of God with great respect and piety. Gradually, an evil wind rose quietly, and the entire underground became extremely eerie. The originally dark blue flames around it now turned into an even more eerie dark green. At the same time, the eyes of the strange statue gradually lit up with a dark green evil light. "Believer, tell me your wish." A strange and majestic voice sounded beside the noble lady's ears. The noble lady was instantly overjoyed, with an extremely enthusiastic look on her face. "Great God, I desire wealth. I want to obtain the most wealth and become the richest person in this world." "Is that all?" The noble lady fell silent. If it was just wealth, she once had it, but as the rebels attacked the palace, all the wealth was far away from her. She could gain wealth, but she would also lose it again. The noble lady thought for a moment, and suddenly she thought of something. She was extremely greedy and excited. "Greatest God, if you can satisfy all the tiny wishes of your believers, then give me wealth and the most powerful powers so that I can protect my wealth." After the words fell, the entire underground was silent for a moment, and then the voice of the god sounded again. "As you wish." Gusts of cold wind blew, as if countless undead souls were crying. The next moment, countless undead souls rushed forward one after another, rushing madly towards the noble lady's body. Power. An endless supply of powerful power. At this moment, the noble lady could summon strong winds to destroy everything, or create fire to burn down the city. At this moment, she was as powerful as a witch in mythology. The extremely excited noble lady was laughing wildly. However, she did not realize that as the countless crying undead souls rushed into her body, the noble lady's originally plump peaks and plump curves were shrinking rapidly, and the once extremely delicate face began to become extremely ugly. Soon, the former noble lady, now the ugly witch, discovered the truth. She found it difficult to accept the truth and let out the most miserable wail. Why is this happening? Go, find the tinderbox, the wealth you desire, the beauty you once had, are all there. But remember, you can only choose one between wealth and tinderbox, and you cannot take out the tinderbox yourself." The next moment, all the divine lights dimmed, and the entire underground fell into complete silence, as if the previous visions were just illusions. After an unknown amount of time, the witch, who had gone mad because she couldn't bear the shock, stumbled out of the underground, muttering about the tinderbox. She was going to find the tinderbox, and she wanted to take back everything she had. After an unknown amount of time, a faint golden glow gathered in the air, forming an illusory shadow that seemed to be formed by pure light. Rock looked at the statue not far away, and then glanced at the direction the witch left. Tisk, he is really a god of pleasure. He wants wealth but won't give it to him immediately. He wants power but takes away his appearance. He wants everything back but needs to make a choice. That woman is just like a toy, played with from beginning to end. His eyes returned to the statue. This is the so-called god of pleasure. He really has a bad taste to the extreme. However, having said that, he was able to create a high-level professional witch at will. This was not his full strength. He did it under various restrictions, even without being able to use his divine power at will. The power of the gods is truly amazing. Next, the plot begins. With Rock's speed, he can turn the whole world several times in a few seconds. Rock knows almost everything he wants to know in the whole world. He has already explored everything. The witch of high professional level was toyed with at will, and was driven to manipulate the soldier to get the tinderbox, and she would eventually die at the hands of that ordinary mortal soldier. This is the god of joy, who is joyful about everything, the weak killing the strong, the filth polluting the holy, the light falling into depravity. He loves to witness the reversal of everything. However, it is my turn to take action next. A strange arc appeared on Rock's lips. To read exciting novels, go to Novel Network. He loves reversals, so give him the most interesting and most surprising reversals. The Lord of Joy, Task Tisk, this feeling is a bit exciting. Chapter 69. Witches who have reached the advanced professional level are almost the strongest batch below the legend. In this world that does not have legends on the surface, they are enough to sweep away everything. However, such a powerful witch did not choose to dominate, nor did she enslave countless creatures to serve her. Instead, she searched everywhere like an ascetic, looking for the legendary tinderbox. After searching for an unknown period of time, she finally found the clue. It was a book that recorded the legend of the tinderbox. After finding the clue of the tinderbox, she was excited and crazy. She almost did not hesitate to embark on the guided path. As long as she hit the tinderbox first, her appearance can be restored. At that time, with her power, even if there is no treasure, she can get everything with her own power. She can even kill the current king and become a witch king. Finally, it is getting closer and closer. At this time, there is only the last section of the road left to the clue of the tinderbox recorded in the book. I don't know if it's because I have been rushing for too long. Wu's vision gradually became dazed. Maybe she was too tired. As long as she could get the tinderbox, everything would be fine. She comforted herself like this, but her eyes became more and more dazed. Suddenly, a series of strange pictures appeared in her sight. It was a witch, a very ugly but very good witch. The witch looked a little like her? No, it couldn't be her. She wouldn't be that ugly. She used to be the queen, the most beautiful. The witch was questioning and resisting, and then the picture continued to change. The witch seemed to have the same purpose as her and was also looking for a tinderbox. The witch found the location of the tinderbox, but because of the reminder from the gods, she could not get the tinderbox directly, so she just found someone at random. It was a soldier, a very poor and ordinary soldier. The witch used words to trick the soldier into entering the secret cave where the tinderbox was. The soldier saw 3 dogs, mountains of wealth, and the real tinderbox. According to the witches, after giving orders, she took the tinderbox and some of the wealth and climbed back up along the rope. Seeing the tinderbox, the witch was excited, almost crazy with excitement. The soldier noticed the witch's weirdness and became alert instantly. He asked about the effect of the tinderbox. The witch was no longer in the mood to care about the soldier. She resolutely took action. With her powerful strength, she didn't think the soldier could resist her at all. However, a ridiculous ending appeared. The witch, who was enough to attack back to the former palace by herself, was killed by a soldier with just 1 blow. This scene was so ridiculous, just like an ant killing a dragon with 1 blow. At the last moment of death, the witch was desperate, confused, and puzzled. At the last moment, suddenly, a strange voice sounded from the witch's ears. The witch, whose vision began to blur, recognized the owner of the voice. It was the great god. He, the most powerful being was killed by the weakest and crudest opponent with 1 blow, what a pleasure! This is the god plotting against me. The witch was instantly alert, Her whole body was shaking, and a chill rose from the solace of her feet to the top of her head. The witch who woke up subconsciously touched her chest, where she was pierced by the soldier, but there was no blood, no wound, everything was still fine. The witch immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it seemed that it was just an illusion. She was so powerful, how could she be killed by the soldiers? The gods were so great, how could they plot against her? The witch forced herself to be more alert and continued to move forward, but soon, her expression became extremely terrified, and the previous scene appeared again, exactly the same as the previous time. She was terrified, puzzled, and confused. What was going on? Is it really an illusion? Or some kind of magic? But who could make her fall under a magic spell? The witch shuddered all over at the mere thought. She used to be a queen. She couldn't say that she knew everything, but she knew most of it. With her own strength, there was no one in the entire kingdom who could confront her head-on. Falling under a magic spell? It's impossible. After all, she had gained infinite power because of the blessing of the gods. If there was really someone who could make her fall under a magic spell, it could only be a god. The mere thought of it made her feel cold all over, and her back seemed to be sweating. Was it really a god? If so, why? Suddenly, the witch thought of the voice of the god at the moment before her death. Joy, he. A chill began to rise in her heart, and her whole body was shaking. Could it be that everything was really calculated by the gods? Was it a conspiracy? She was not sure, she was afraid. She took a look at the secret cave where the tinderbox was located, which was already in her sight. She was suddenly terrified and began to retreat step by step. However, after taking a few steps, the familiar scene reappeared. This time it was different from the previous one. The witch in the picture chose to escape. However, with the witch's earth-shaking infinite strength, not long after escaping, she suddenly twisted her foot and fell to death. Fell to death. The witch who would not die even if hit by a huge rock or burned by flames, fell to death? How absurd! The same last moment of death, the same voice of the gods sounded. The most powerful witch fell to death, what a joy, he. Joy, joy, joy. The sound was like the most terrifying devil's sound, constantly echoing in the witch's mind, and the witch's expression became extremely terrified. At this moment, it seemed to be confirmed that it was really the gods who were plotting against her, with her death. To be more precise, the gods were taking pleasure in her most absurd and ridiculous death. What should she do? What should she do? She was completely panicked, she wanted to escape from this terrible situation. The picture reappeared, and this time the picture became more different. The picture was that the witch tried to escape again and again. She flew away, and was pecked to death by a bird. She got on the carriage, and the carriage shook, shaking her out of the car, and she died. She fled quickly, but was scratched by a leaf and died. She wanted to hide underground, but was bitten by an ant and died. Countless, almost endless, scenes, one after another, she would die every time, and in a very absurd and ridiculous way. And at the end of each time, it was that familiar sentence. What a joy, he, a devilish voice, a devilish weird laugh. To read exciting novels, go to Novel Network. She was terrified, she was furious, she yelled, she surrendered, but nothing worked, until she was completely numb and desperate. The witch was numb to the extreme, desperate to the extreme, and there was no light in her eyes. Suddenly, she was hit. Damn it, don't you even look at the road. The first complaining voice froze the witch for a moment. She subconsciously glanced at the other person, and it was this glance that made the witch's face change instantly. Ordinary appearance, ordinary height, the only thing that was unusual was the other person's dress, the dress of a soldier. It's you. The witch let out the craziest and most hysterical roar in her life, with an extremely resentful expression. which made people feel terrified at the sight of her. It was this guy, the god chose this guy and gave him power, just to let this guy kill him and then make the god feel happy. It was him, it was him. The soldier was frightened by the witch's crazy appearance, cursed her as a weirdo, and turned around to walk around. It's you, it's really you. Tinderbox, witchcraft, they are all fake, fake, everything is your fault, haha, it's all because of you. Seeing the witch getting crazier, the soldier cursed her and walked faster. Crazy? You still call me that? This word crazy completely ignited the witch's hatred. I can't beat you, so let's die together. With a roar, the terrifying magic power erupted in an instant. A high-level 0.5 level witch blew herself up crazily, and the power of the riot instantly submerged the area of hundreds of meters. 1 second, 2 seconds, time passed slowly. I don't know how long it took, but in a pile of ruins, the soldier climbed up with a confused look on his face. He looked around and looked at the hundreds of meters that had been completely flattened. His mind was suddenly filled with questions and doubts. He cursed the ugly and crazy woman as a lunatic, and then she exploded. Is the world outside so scary? At this time, in the sky, in the clouds, a faint golden shadow overlooked the scene below, with an inexplicable smile on his face. The joy of the weak killing the strong, the joy of the witch on the verge of success and death, are now gone. All the arranged plots have now become a plot in which the witch who obtained power from the gods has a little abnormal brain and explodes instantly when she sees the protagonist arranged by the gods. At this moment, what is the expression of the Lord of Pleasure? To be honest, Rock is looking forward to it. The light curtain opened, and a prompt appeared. Prompt: the Lord of Pleasure has doubts and has obtained a strategy level of 50%. Chapter 70. The soldier climbed out of the pit cursing and was about to leave when he suddenly thought of something. Tinderbox. What is the tinderbox that the ugly woman mentioned? It seems to be an incredible treasure. The ugly woman seemed to have gone crazy because of the treasure. The soldier was suddenly moved. He didn't know why, but he had an inexplicable feeling that he should get the tinderbox. He began to look for it, and after a while, he really found a book. It was the book marked with clues about the tinderbox. The soldier immediately started to look for it excitedly according to the information in the book. Above, Rock curled his lips. An ordinary soldier, at most, has a relatively good physique among ordinary people. He was able to resist the self-explosion of a high-level professional witch without any problem. That book, it was just a book, not a magical artifact or something like that, but it was fine. It can only be said that gods are really an incredible life, especially crazy gods. There is a saying in the mark that force cannot make the Lord of Pleasure happy, but often this kind of god actually has more outrageous combat effectiveness. Guys who don't talk about combat effectiveness are either comedy characters or rule-based characters. 26 Suddenly, Rock seemed to have discovered something. He waved his hand, and a piece of torn cloth slowly fell into his hand. Is this thing the witch's magic weapon? After withstanding a wave of witch's self-explosion, this thing was not a trick played by the gods. Now it is only damaged, and the damage is not serious. If I remember correctly, this thing seems to have a forced immobilization effect. If I remember correctly, Rock vaguely remembered that this thing seemed to be able to directly immobilize even the largest dog, which was as big as a house. Naturally, it was not very useful to Rock, it could only be regarded as an unexpected gain. Below, the soldiers had found the entrance to the secret cave according to the information, and jumped in without any hesitation. Needless to say, he would soon get the tinderbox. It's time to leave. Using force won't please the Lord of Pleasure, and there's no point in waiting any longer. Rock's entire body exploded, turning into countless light particles and disappearing in the distance. The palace, the princess bedroom. As the only descendant and the only daughter of the kingdom, you can imagine what kind of pampering this princess enjoys. But now, the little princess was annoyed by the king's harsh tone and ran over. Looking at the direction where the little princess left, the king sighed with a complicated tone. As an old girl, and the only daughter, he naturally doted on his precious daughter, but there was only one thing he absolutely could not agree to, that is, to let his daughter leave the palace to play. The king's eyes were a little dazed, and the hint given by the witch in the past emerged in his mind, that the most precious princess of this country would eventually marry the most vulgar and ordinary soldier. In fact, this king was still a relatively open-minded one. After all, when he learned that his daughter was defiled, he only wanted to kill the defiler, and did not go crazy and kill innocent people. Before the defiler died, he wanted to smoke a cigarette. This condition was met. An angry father, or the most noble king, his temper was already very good. However, no matter how good-tempered one is, he could never accept that his most precious daughter would marry the most ordinary and vulgar soldier. This is like the most precious pearl being swallowed by the dirtiest mud. King, do you want to change all that? The sudden voice startled the king, but he did not immediately call the guards anxiously, but said helplessly. Why do you, such an extremely mysterious existence, always like to make such mysterious appearances? Can't you just report it and give me some time to prepare? A mysterious appearance is a deterrent. This makes it easier to communicate with you, isn't it? As soon as the words fell, countless light particles gathered in the air. A moment later, on a seat, a heroic and handsome young man's face condensed. Young, but not immature. The indifference that comes from the bones gives the king an attitude that even if the sky falls and the earth collapses, it doesn't matter. This is a truly extraordinary attitude. A strange color flashed in the king's eyes. I have to admit that even those mysterious beings I have seen, none can compare to you. The king was talking about temperament. As for the condensation of light particles, it was indeed amazing, but to be honest, as the king of a country, he had also seen some people transformed by fire, butterflies, and the like. In comparison, it was a bit special, but it was not unacceptable. If you want to praise me, you can say it slowly later. King, do you want to change the fate of your precious princess? The king nodded and said, of course I do, but until now, I know nothing except that my precious daughter will marry a soldier. I have also looked for some mysterious beings, but no one can give me a clear answer. That's not surprising. How could some low-level extraordinary people possibly see through the fate designated by the gods? To read exciting novels, go to Novel Network. The king suddenly widened his eyes. God. Why? I don't understand. Why would a god do such a thing? There are many possibilities, aren't there? Good gods need faith, evil gods need war, and a princess, the only princess, is enough to be the most perfect chess piece. The king was silent. He was not stupid. Since there was interest, everything was possible. The king began to rub his head tiredly. So, is the god who targeted my precious daughter a good god? Or an evil god? If it was an evil god, then he would do everything he could to let the god know the anger of a king and a father, even if it might not cause any harm to the god. If it was a good god, it would be different. Rock saw through the king's thoughts and said in an inexplicable tone, your idea is correct, but it's a pity that he is neither a good god nor an evil god. The king was shocked. Not a good god, nor an evil god? Could it be a neutral god who is half good and half evil? If I had to describe it with a word, mad god, you should be able to understand it easily. The king was silent. He didn't talk about gods, but only about people. Good people, bad people, they can actually be dealt with, but there is no other way to deal with madmen except to kill them, because madmen don't have the thoughts of normal people. Even madmen are like this, and a mad god. After a moment, the king suddenly stared at Rock. What should I do? I don't know who you are, but now that you're telling me everything, it's obvious that you're not on the same side as that god, and you want to fight against that god. Besides, you still need my help, Right. He was very decisive and his reaction speed was not slow. Rock didn't say anything more and nodded. Good. As long as you can save my daughter, I can do anything to help you. Even my life. That's not necessary. I just need you to play a game with me and him. A very interesting game. Chapter 71. The soldier walked on a commercial street, looking around at many wonderful commodities, gorgeous clothes, etc. that he dared not even look at normally. Even the look he gave to the young girls was much bolder than usual. Usually, the soldier would not dare to do this. Being poor and an ordinary soldier, he dared not have any thoughts that he should not have, but it was different now. The soldier touched his chest, where there was not only the mysterious tinderbox, but also some gold and silver coins he had taken out of the secret cave, and this was the reason why he was no longer timid. Finally, he came to a tavern, his eyes were a little eager. This was not the largest tavern, but it was the most famous one. When he was a soldier, he had heard countless wonderful legends. Soft and sweet wine, beautiful maids, and all kinds of big men who talked happily, etc. Finally, he couldn't help it and stepped into it. Tobacco, alcohol, beauties, men's roars, gambling, and noisy and exciting environment all stimulated the man's heart. Finally, the soldier couldn't control himself, took out the money, and joined in. Soon, the soldiers who were immersed in it did not notice that not far away, a bee of the same size as a normal individual was quietly lying not far away, quietly watching the soldiers. In the eyes of the little bee, countless information symbols were changing rapidly. At the same time, in the palace, at Rock's fingertips, a similar bee was lying obediently on Rock's fingertips. At this moment, a nearly materialized light was projected from the little bee's eyes, forming a light curtain in the air, in which pictures related to the soldiers were playing. Looking at the little bee on his fingertips, Rock's eyes floated with satisfaction. Nanomechanical bees, after the opening of Hell's Kitchen, not to mention the battle arena, the scientific research arena, the competition is not weak at all. And this nanomechanical bee is one of the quite good products. This thing is not big, even a little smaller than a normal bee, but it has complete functions, combining reconnaissance, projection, and sound transmission, and has endless uses. Previously, it was this little thing that fooled the witch and caused her to go completely crazy and run away. With Rock's strength, he could force the witch into the illusion, but as one of the biggest tools for the Lord of Pleasure, he must have the Lord of Pleasure's attention, and it was impossible for him not to notice the fluctuations of supernatural power, so Rock did not use supernatural means at all. Without any supernatural fluctuations, even if the Lord of Pleasure felt something strange, he would not think that it was this little thing that did it. It's not that the Lord of Pleasure is too stupid, but that he is an orthodox fantasy god, and it is difficult to imagine him as a technological god. Moreover, this thing is really small and difficult to attract attention. As for the voice of the Lord of Pleasure that caused the witch to go completely crazy, when he entered this world, Rock had experienced the extremely devilish smile of the Lord of Pleasure, so it was just right to simulate and use it. The king's eyes wandered to the little bee several times. He was not very clear about what the little bee was, but he could guess that it was probably a strange prop made by some mysterious supernatural. He had to admit that the king was a little greedy. If he hadn't known it in advance, he would never have imagined that it was so useful. Use this thing, whether it is to obtain intelligence, or to peek at women, cough cough. In short, it is a great and tempting little thing. Did you see it? Rock's voice suddenly sounded, disrupting the king's gradually wandering mind. The king instantly came back to his senses and looked at the light screen projected by the little bee. See, it's him, this damn, hateful soldier. The king gnashed his teeth and said. Although he knew that everything was arranged by the gods, he could not resist the gods. Shouldn't he hate this soldier who insulted his daughter under the arrangement of the gods? The hatred was transferred, and the king wanted to kill this bastard directly. That's not what I'm talking about. Look at the gold coin in his hand. The king looked puzzled, but he still looked at the gold coin honestly. Those gold coins don't seem to be anything special. Rock's eyebrows slightly raised. These gold coins were obviously made by the Lord of Pleasure. He always thought that this was not the gold coin used in daily life in this country. After all, the coins in different places are quite different. Now listening to what the king said, it seems that the original plan can only be changed. At this time, the scene in the picture was constantly changing. Wine, beauty, exciting gambling, the soldier was completely addicted to it. It is conceivable that the rookie soldier, under the compliments of the women around him, soon lost all the gold coins taken out of the secret cave. In this place where money is desperately needed, what will happen if you lose money? The result is predictable. The soldier was thrown out directly. He should have been rich and a superior man, but he was beaten into his original form so quickly. How could the soldier endure it? Unfortunately, he had no ability to resist. The big man who was much taller than him was braver and his fists were more powerful than his. After leaving the tavern, the soldier walked on the street. Gusts of cold wind blew. Without the confidence brought by the gold coins and the heat in his heart, the soldier felt that the wind was much colder than before. He tightened his clothes hard, but he couldn't stop the erosion of the cold wind. Gusts of cold wind penetrated into his clothes from every corner, and the soldier began to shiver. I need warmth, otherwise, I will freeze to death. Suddenly, he thought of the tinderbox and found a closed and hidden alley. The cold wind here was much weaker, but it did not reduce the coldness suffered by the soldiers. He took out the tinderbox with some trembling, and gently rubbed out a wisp of flame, hoping to bring him some warmth. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared out of thin air, and when the soldier saw the other person clearly, he was suddenly stunned. This is a puppy, about the same size as an ordinary dog, but the strange thing is that this puppy is copper-colored. What really stunned the soldier was not the color of the puppy, but that he had seen this puppy. In the secret cave where he found the tinderbox, he saw 3 dogs. The smallest copper dog, the silver dog that was more than 1 person tall, and the gold dog the same size as the rent. And the one in front of him, it was the smallest bronze dog that he saw first. The soldier was not stupid, and his eyes widened as he looked at the tinderbox. He had never expected that the tinderbox could summon dogs. So the question is, since bronze dogs can be summoned, what about the obviously more powerful silver dogs and gold dogs? The soldier's heart instantly became hot, and even the cold wind that kept getting into his clothes could not extinguish the excitement in his heart at this time. The soldier extinguished the tinderbox, and the bronze dog gradually disappeared. After a while, the soldier polished the tinderbox again. The next moment, a figure taller and bigger than him appeared in front of him, shining with silver light, and it was a bigger and stronger silver dog. Seeing the silver dog, the soldier became completely excited. Dog, can you bring me some of the silver coins you have? To read exciting novels, go to Novel Network. The box guarded by the dog before only had copper coins. That's why the soldier put the copper dog back. Copper coins are of too low value, while silver coins are far different. The silver dog nodded, and the next moment, it jumped up, jumped onto the roof, and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. At this time, in the palace, the king frowned. Is this the confidence of this soldier to insult my daughter? A strange tinderbox, and 2 strange dogs that don't seem to be ordinary dogs. King How, yes, the tinderbox can also summon a golden dog as big as a house. Together, they are enough to destroy your entire country. The king was silent for a moment, and a fierce look gradually emerged in his eyes. What should I do next? Should I just watch this shameless soldier do whatever he wants with the help of that mysterious tinderbox? Rock glanced at him and said, I originally wanted to use those gold and silver coins to design a plan for this guy, but since you said it's almost the same, I can only change my mind. Go find some dudes, if you don't understand what that means, bastards, bad guys, guys who like to bully others, preferably, guys with good status. There are many such people. What's the point of looking for them? What is it useful for? Of course it is useful. It's not strange to get angry when you lose money. If that person is still a hot-tempered guy, it wouldn't be surprising if he beat up the thief. The king's eyes gradually brightened, and in the end, his expression even began to become distorted, with a grim smile. I see. Don't worry, I will find a guy who hates people stealing his money the most. Chapter 72. It seemed that time passed slowly, and no one knew how much time had passed. The soldier, who was shivering from the cold again, wanted to curse. Damn it, how could such a big and magical silver dog, the existence that the witch longed for so much, be so useless? It has been so long. He is almost frozen to death. Bastard! Suddenly, woof woof, a few barks were heard. The soldier looked over in the direction of the sound, and saw that the silver dog was now on the eaves, looking at him, with its tail wagging like a windmill, gazing at the soldier with joy. The soldier was immediately overjoyed. Good dog, you are finally back. How is it? Did you get the silver coins? The silver dog's tail turned faster. The next moment, the silver dog jumped down and rushed to the soldier. It opened its mouth and spit out a large number of silver coins. The number was even several times more than what he had taken out from the secret cave before. In the blink of an eye, the silver coins piled up into a small hill of about 30 centimeters. Seeing this scene, the soldier's breathing became rapid. So many silver coins were enough for him to live a rich life for a long time. Even if he went to the previous tavern to play for a while, it would be no problem. When he thought of this, the soldier's eyes became more eager. He quickly put away the silver coins, touched the silver dog's head, and praised generously. Good dog, good job. He rubbed the tinderbox again, and the silver dog instantly turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared without a trace. The soldier excitedly and quickly filled up the full coins and turned around and rushed towards the tavern. This time, he wanted to rise again and kill a lot of people. Kill all those bastards who had won him before. At this moment, the soldier was full of vigor and confidence, and his confidence reached the peak. After 3 days, he had countless gold and silver coins. Who was he afraid of? Not long after, the soldier came to the tavern, and without any hesitation, he excitedly rushed to the gambling table with skill. Time passed slowly, and the soldier's luck seemed to be very good today. He had brought a lot of money, and now he not only did not lose, but also made a lot. The soldier drank the wine handed to him by the beautiful woman who served him, and took advantage of it. In the laughter of the charming maid, at this moment, he was already a little ecstatic, as if he had reached the top of his life. Just when the soldier was excited to bet again, suddenly, a hand stretched out from thin air and grabbed the soldier's arm. What an exaggerated hand it was, just a hand, but it was more than twice as big as his, like a giant's hand. The soldier subconsciously raised his head and saw that a strong man with a height of nearly 2 meters appeared beside him at some point, looking down at him like a little giant. Gulp! The soldier's throat felt dry for no reason. This man was more violent than a bear. Even though he was a soldier who had experienced the battlefield, he didn't think he could be his opponent. The soldier forced a stiff smile on his face. Excuse me, sir, do we know each other? The man's eyes were cold, as if he was looking at a dead person. I didn't know you before, but now I know you. The soldier's throat became even drier. Of course, it's my honor to meet you. Honor? The sturdy man laughed, and his smile was extremely ferocious. Then I will make you more honored. You stole my money, gambled here, and said it was an honor. You little rubbish, you have guts, you are really fat. He pulled the soldier up and carried him out of the tavern like a fish. The soldier began to struggle violently, but unfortunately, the difference in strength between them was too great, and no matter how he struggled, it was of little use. Spare me! Spare me! I can explain. Explain? Go to hell and explain. The sturdy man dragged the soldier into a remote alley, and the next moment, he hit the soldier with heavy and fierce fists. There was a continuous crackling sound after the beating. At first, there were screams, but after a while, the screams disappeared, leaving only groaning sounds. Another heavy punch, the soldier's eyes went black, and he fainted. In the last moment before he fainted, he had only one thought in his mind. Damn silver dog, I asked you to go back to the secret cave to get it, not to steal it. To read the exciting novels, go to Philo Novel Network. At the same time, in the palace, Rock smiled and pulled open the light curtain. A prompt appeared in his sight. Prompt, the Lord of Pleasure felt strange, and even felt something vaguely. Obtained 50% strategy. Rock's brows suddenly condensed. He broke the fun game he had set up continuously, which made the Lord of Pleasure feel that something was wrong. It's not surprising. After all, a god is a god. Even a god like the Lord of Pleasure who looks crazy is just his nature. It doesn't mean that the other party is stupid. Frowning and thinking for a moment, Rock murmured. It seems that the next wave will be a bit bigger. The Lord of Pleasure, who has already noticed something wrong, wants to tease the other party to generate a strategy degree, and the difficulty will be raised to a very high level. Although he can barely complete the task now, it is obvious that Rock will never be satisfied with a mere 100% strategy degree. Although he was hit head-on and his joy turned into sorrow, the soldier will definitely use the tinderbox to summon the last and most powerful golden dog. The prerequisite for triggering this step is the princess. Once the soldier gets to know the princess and becomes obsessed with her, he will inevitably use the power of the tinderbox. After all, with his own abilities, he will never be qualified to get a princess. Rock's eyes turned, and gradually, an idea came to his mind. The whole person instantly turned into one, and when he condensed again, he was already in the princess's room. Hee, sir, you are here. Rock has been living in the palace for some time recently, so naturally he has had some contact with the princess. With Rock's experience and character, it is natural for him to deal with a little princess. And coincidentally, the king and queen did not object to this scene, so Rock and the little princess had a good relationship. Sir, is there any new story? The little princess looked at Rock with expectation with her big round eyes. An inexplicable smile appeared on Rock's lips. There is indeed a new story. Today, I will tell you a story about Zhu Beiji carrying his wife on his back. It is a very, very interesting story. Chapter 73. Translate failed, unknown error. Chapter 74. At this time, in the palace. Looking at the night outside through the window, Rock suddenly had an idea and opened the light curtain. Tip, the Lord of Pleasure was shocked and gained 100% strategy. A smile instantly appeared on the corner of Rock's mouth. Even if he was a god, this wave would be enough to shock him. After all, it was a difficult task, a man on top of a man. Tip, the Lord of Pleasure was shocked and gained 20% strategy. Tip, the Lord of Pleasure felt admiration and gained 20% strategy. Tip, the Lord of Pleasure felt strange knowledge increased and gained 20% strategy. A series of question marks appeared in Rock's mind. What the hell is this? That weird Lord of Pleasure, did he gain strange knowledge and then become addicted? Good dong. Rock suddenly swallowed hard. This wave won't cause any big 910 problems, will it? If it were any other god, seeing that kind of scene would at most be eye-irritating. Those with good tempers would go back and wash their eyes, while those with bad tempers would destroy the world. If it were a madman, the other party wouldn't have any new ideas and come up with some gay sect or something like that. Tip, the Lord of Pleasure suddenly had a new idea, and the strategy level is 10%. Damn it! This madman really has the idea of causing trouble. Rock felt a little scalp numb for a moment. No, I can't go on like this. It's too scary. If this wave of actions makes the already crazy Lord of Joy even crazier, that's too scary. Rock suddenly raised one hand, and the pure and ultimate sacred light gathered in it. Dozens of miles away, in the store. The soldiers who looked numb as if their ancestors had died suddenly had a ripple in their numb eyes. It seemed a little bright outside. So, it's daybreak? Very good, die, destroy, there is no meaning in living anymore. The next moment. Boom! A beam of light several meters long came out from the sky. It descended, and instantly submerged the entire hotel. It didn't stop yet, and terrifying beams of light continued to fall, bombarding the location of the hotel like a punishment from heaven. After an unknown amount of time, this punishment-like judgment completely stopped. There was no trace of the hotel left at the spot, and there was only a bottomless and terrifying pit. The bottom could not be seen at a glance, and it was unknown how deep it was. After an unknown amount of time, a ray of light condensed in the sky, revealing an illusory golden light and shadow. Rock stared down, his eyes unblinking. Is this the end? Rock didn't necessarily want to fight with some powerful being, but it was a world with a relatively high concentration of magic power, and there was also a world of alienation too, and this was the result? Or was it because the one who noticed this world was the crazy god of fun, and it was not a routine process for an orthodox god? The next moment, suddenly, Rock raised his head, and a divine light suddenly burst out from his eyes, as if it was materialized, and it seemed to penetrate all barriers in an instant. Above the sky, a pair of eyes without any malice, but seemed to be more evil and demonic than any other eyes in the world, stared at the world below. He, joy, this is joy, he. He felt joy, not because of what someone had experienced in the world below, but because there were creatures like ants who dared to plot against him and succeeded. With a weak body, plotting against the gods was already very pleasing to him, not to mention that the little thing below also brought him such novel and strange knowledge. The extremely joyful eyes, wrapped in a monstrous divine power, instantly penetrated the barrier of time and space and instantly fell on the individual who made him feel infinite joy. In mid-air, Rock suddenly felt a terrifying sense of oppression, which instantly enveloped Rock's entire body. Before Rock could react, a stream of light instantly hit Rock. 1 second, 2 seconds. After a moment, Rock regained his mobility and looked at his body in a daze. Although he didn't know what happened, he had a feeling that he had just been locked by a very scary guy, probably related to the so-called Lord of Pleasure. Then the question is, he was obviously hit, why didn't anything change? Rock frowned and pulled open the light curtain. A prompt appeared on the upper light curtain. Prompt: you have received the blessing of the Lord of Pleasure. You have obtained an unknown divine art. Rock's eyes widened for 3 full seconds. This lunatic must be extremely powerful. What the hell is this? He plotted against that god, but not only did he not get his ambitions, but the other party also rewarded him. Is this what a normal brain circuit would do? If such a crazy guy is not extremely powerful, he would have been killed by the combination of good gods and demons. After all, good gods and demons are in opposition, which is natural, and no one knows what a lunatic will do in the next second. Why not kill him immediately and keep him for trouble? After complaining for a while, Rock studied the so-called divine arts. Let's see what's going on first. At worst, we can go back to ask Ancient One for help to kill him. Rock has no doubts about Ancient One's strength. Ancient One, according to the so-called official settings or conventional settings, is basically at the level of God, and God is theoretically equal to the gods in the fairy tale world. But in reality, God? The general symbol of God is the power of the star-level explosion. The most representative one is Odin, who is known as the omnipotent God, and he clearly has the destructive power of the star-level explosion. But, Dormammu, whose body size is larger than a planet, can string together a planet with a casual blow. Is this still God? Dormammu's strength is guaranteed to be a pseudo-single unit. It may even be directly at the single unit level. It is at the same level as those gods who rub planets like balls. And such a guy can't do anything to Ancient One. Obviously, even if the Ancient One is really just a father, he is definitely an extraordinary fighter among the fathers. With the addition of the Time Stone, Rock even feels that even if the Ancient One fights Dormammu, the one who survives will most likely not be Dormammu. This kind of Ancient One, it is definitely not a problem to kill a god. Unless that crazy Lord of Pleasure is stronger than a single one, this possibility is infinitely equal to zero. Rock thought so, but when he explored the so-called divine art, he couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Name, Unknown 1.6. Grade, Divine Art. Introduction, the Lord of Pleasure accidentally gained mysterious knowledge, and thus developed a divine art that hits the target, ignoring all rules, artifacts, and defenses. It must hit and must work. Cooling time, 30 days. Effect, force the person hit to fall in love with the closest same-sex person for a period of time. Below the god level life, the duration is 1 month, pregnancy is certain during the effect period, and at the god level, the duration is 24 hours, 50% pregnancy during the effect period. Special reminder, this divine art is not only effective for living beings. A very crazy divine spell, which fits Rock's perception of the Lord of Pleasure. But the problem is, this thing is crazy and seems to be ridiculously strong. This can even be called a concept skill. Moreover, it not only works on life, but also has a chance of pregnancy. This thing seems a bit against the sky. In other words, if I use it on the Lord of Pleasure and make him pregnant. Chapter 75. In the void, ripples suddenly appeared, and a black hole took shape after a while. Rock walked out of it and returned to the Hell's Kitchen in the Marvel world. He had returned many times, so he didn't have any big feelings. Pulling open the light curtain, Rock began to study the harvest this time. Although this mission was strange, the mission completion rate was not low. Over 300% of the mission completion rate was the highest except for the Snow White world. I think the harvest will definitely not be bad. Extract the sovereignty reward. Do you want to open the world sovereignty reward? Yes. Start scanning the world. World scan completed. Sovereignty rewards begin to condense. If the task completion is too high, the quality of the sovereignty reward will be improved. If the task completion is too high, the number of sovereignty rewards will be increased. Sovereignty rewards are condensed successfully. You can choose any 3 of the following sovereignty. Mysterious Tinderbox, rare a magical tinderbox that can summon 3 dogs, namely Copper Dog, Elementary Professional Level, Silver Dog, Intermediate Professional Level, and Gold Dog, Advanced Professional Level. This first reward made Rock's eyes light up. This is definitely an enhanced version. The one he had seen before, even the Golden Big Dog, was barely professional level combat power. 3 professional level summoned beasts are definitely a considerable combat force even for Rock. Storm Witch, rare a powerful rare level extraordinary sequence, wielding the power of storm. Fire Witch, rare. A powerful rare level extraordinary sequence, wielding the power of fire. 2 rare level extraordinary sequences are naturally good things, but Rock only glanced at them. They are good things, but not necessary. His eyes continued to fall. The Devil's Gift, the Devil's Box, pseudo-legend, a mysterious treasure box that no one knows what can be opened. It may be a vicious curse of some devil, or it may be a powerful treasure. Legendary reward. 29. Rock's eyes narrowed slightly. This was the first time he had seen a legendary reward outside of the Snow White world. Although it was just a pseudo-legend was still a legend, right? Moreover, this obviously had a negative effect. Perhaps that was why it lowered the grade by half and became a pseudo-legend. Maybe. The upper limit of the treasures opened by this thing might be higher than that of ordinary legends. In addition, looking at this situation, it is obvious that only when the strategy degree reaches 300% can the basic requirements for the appearance of legendary rewards be met. There is no need for nonsense at all. It is a must. As for the risks and the like, who cares about those? Even if a legendary devil is opened, it is not a bad thing. Mysterious egg, lower legendary quasi-legend, a very special pet egg, which can be fed with precious materials or high-quality energy to enhance the qualifications, and can breed a quasi-legendary pet. P.S. Quasi-legendary pets are born legendary, and there is a 50% chance of becoming a demigod when they grow up. Resurrection, Universal can be resurrected twice in this world. At this moment, even Rock couldn't help but take a deep breath. The highest quasi-legend, this level, doesn't need any nonsense. As for the last resurrection reward, just ignore it. After all, it will appear every time. A simple 300% strategy reward should not be so high. The alienation level of alienation 2 must be one of the reasons why the reward is so good. Rock knew it. This time, he was lucky to meet a crazy god of fun. The god of fun was very crazy, but in fact, if he found the trick, the difficulty of the task would be much lower. If he met a normal god, Rock had no doubt that he would have to fight a legendary existence this time. There might even be more than one legend. It is not impossible for a legendary to bring a group of professional brothers. After just a few seconds of thinking, Rock made a decisive decision. Choose. As Rock made his choice, the light curtain disappeared, and 3 balls of light appeared in Rock's sight out of thin air, and then slowly condensed into 3 things. A silver tinderbox, a black, strange box with countless dark lines on it, and a stone egg slightly smaller than a human head. Rock just looked at the 3 rewards, but didn't do anything immediately. Instead, he thought for a moment, put the stone egg away, and then waved his hand to take out something. It was another tinderbox, a copper-colored tinderbox, but there were many cracks and damage on the surface. This was naturally the one from the tinderbox world, which was not completely destroyed by Rock's series of attacks, and then Rock found it back. Putting the tinderbox and the other 2 rewards together, Rock took a few steps back. Then, with an inexplicable expression, he spread his hands, and in his palms, a ball of extremely strange pink energy was born. This thing was the magic obtained from the Lord of Pleasure, an outrageous magic that was said to be able to hit even dead objects. With a strong push, the pink ball of light slowly floating towards the 3 items, at the same time, Rock's figure exploded instantly, turning into countless light particles, disappearing without a trace on the spot. A moment later, Rock had appeared on the other side of the completely opposite Hell's Kitchen, closely watching the changes in his room through the nano-machine bees. I saw that the ball of pink light quickly hit the 3 items. The pink light instantly wrapped up the 2 tinderboxes in a magic box. In just a moment, the 3 treasures vibrated almost at the same time. Inexplicably, a pink, ambiguous breath began to spread. At the same time, the 3 treasures actually moved slowly. After a while, they were entangled together and rubbed against each other. Rock took a deep breath and wiped off the non-existent sweat. He could only say that it was worthy of the crazy magic of the crazy god. This damn thing actually worked. This is outrageous. As long as you get 2 artifacts, it is equivalent to having countless artifacts. You just need to keep using the magic. It's simply against the sky. Having said that, the gestation period of a normal person is 10 months. How long will it take for these treasures to breed a new life? This is a question worth pondering. Throwing this question to the scientific researchers in Hell's Kitchen would probably drive them crazy. Rock didn't dare to go back now. Who knows if the god-defying magician will hurt him by mistake? At least he has to wait until the light effect produced by the magic disappears completely. The light effect of the magic disappeared faster than Rock expected. In just a few minutes, the pink light disappeared without a trace. Even so, Rock didn't choose to go back immediately. Just in case, Rock would rather take the legendary big move head-on than be touched by the residual power of the weird magic. In the end, he didn't touch it at all in this life. After a long time, seeing that there was no movement, Rock exploded again, and countless light particles disappeared on the spot. When he returned to the room, Rock saw that there were 3 treasures that were almost entangled and difficult to separate. Rock didn't touch it directly, but opened the light curtain again. Name: Mysterious Tinderbox. Grade: Rare. Introduction: a rare summoning item that has successfully conceived after some strange incident. Pregnancy period: 10 days. P.S. Injecting a large amount of high-purity energy can greatly reduce the pregnancy period. To read the exciting novel, go to Novel Network. Name: Exploding Tinderbox. Grade: Pseudo-rare. Introduction: a summoning item that was originally of rare grade was damaged due to being bombarded by a powerful force. Later, it successfully conceived due to some strange scene. It seemed that it absorbed some strange power during the pregnancy process, and it seemed to have bred something very special. Gestation period: 1 month. P.S. Injecting a large amount of high-purity energy can greatly reduce the gestation period. Looking at the introduction of the 2 tinderboxes, Rock fell into deep thought for a while. So, he can now use these 2 tinderboxes to make countless tinderboxes. In the future, everyone in Hell's Kitchen will have an extraordinary big dog? But then again, Rock has some interest in the so-called breeding of something special. High-purity energy. Rock thought about this thing, and instantly disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, he had a few more guns in his hands, some very sci-fi guns. This thing is the destruction of the Hydra base. The gun that was obtained after the ground was the one that almost forced Titu, the deputy captain of the professional Hell's Kitchen Guard, into a desperate situation. A golden light flashed in Rock's hand, and in an instant, several guns were directly decomposed on the spot and turned into countless parts. Rock grasped the void, and all the parts exploded instantly, leaving only the most important things in place. It was a ball of light, a dark blue ball of light, as if it was pregnant with some terrible power. Even after the major events, the professional level can be regarded as the backbone of Marvel in the middle and late stages. In the current early stages, there is no need for nonsense. At this time, it is used as energy and can still threaten the professional level. It was taken out by Hydra. The answer is obvious. This is the energy of the cosmic cube. With a casual wave of his hand, the energy of the 2 cosmic cubes instantly sank into the 2 tinderboxes. Visibly, the 2 tinderboxes began to change, as if something special was moving. Name: Mysterious Tinderbox. Grade: Rare. Introduction: an originally rare summoning prop. I don't know what kind of weird scene it went through before it successfully conceived. Gestation period: 1 hour. It was only an hour, and Rock could wait for it. His attention shifted instantly and fell on the last treasure, which seemed to have changed the most. Name: Devil's Gift, Devil's Box, Mutation. Grade: Pseudo-legendary. Introduction: it was originally just an ordinary devil's box, but it inexplicably mutated and became a triple devil's box. Did you see the 3 extra horizontal bars? Now it can be started 3 times. P.S. Please do not use this weird method again, intending to get more opening opportunities, otherwise, the devil may rush out in person and punish the greedy humans. It's outrageous. Who would have thought that the devil's box would change like this after it became pregnant? However, Rock frowned slightly. Looking at this introduction, it is not difficult to draw an ending. This devil's box seems to have wisdom? No, it can't be said that this devil's box should be said to be connected to a certain demon. This is a trap of the devil, using the greed of living beings as a temptation to tempt people to open this box connected to the devil. Now, after being messed up by Rock, no matter how outrageous the magic is, it is still magic. Even the devil is afraid of the power of the gods and chooses to retreat. However, greed is the nature of the devil, and retreating to this point has reached its limit. Rock thought for a while, waved his hand, and opened the devil's box for the first time. In an instant, 1/3 of the treasure box was opened, and something burst out from it and floated in the air. It was a ball of blood, a ball of black blood, exuding powerful magic power and a strong sulfur smell. Name: Devil's Blood. Grade: Rare. Introduction: a drop of devil's blood can instantly turn a creature into a low-level devil, giving it super strength, super recovery, transformation, and other abilities. P.S. The devil has never been a generous creature. After absorbing the devil's blood, it will be controlled by the devil from now on. There is no need to think too much. Rock flicked his finger over, and the drop of devil's blood instantly bounced towards the pet stone egg. This pet stone egg can produce a quasi-legendary pet egg at the highest level. Its bloodline must be very high-end. A devil that can only produce rare blood, I'll give you a chance, you control one and see. Sure enough, as expected, the stone egg didn't care about whether it was a devil or not. As soon as the devil's blood fell, it was instantly absorbed by the eggshell itself. I casually opened the devil's box for the second time, and another thing flew out of it. Name: Magic Knife. Grade: Rare. Introduction: a magic knife made of the hardest bones of a special devil, with powerful magic power. P.S. Those who are not of devil bloodline will gradually be demonized when using the magic knife, and finally be forcibly transformed into a demonized creature. Another useless thing, another shot, the magic knife flew towards the stone egg again, and the surface of the stone egg began to flash with a faint light. Visible to the naked eye, a series of ferocious demonic energy was drawn out from the magic knife and was constantly swallowed by the stone egg. Looking at the devil's box, which only had one last chance to open, Rock frowned. Looking at the things that came out of the first 2 times, it is clear that this devil's box is indeed not a good thing. Even if it is opened again, even if it is a legendary treasure, it may have various negative effects. So, Rock instantly picked up the devil's box and disappeared on the spot. It's been a long time since I saw Ancient One. It's not too much to give a small gift between friends. I think Guyi will like a certain naughty little cutie, devil, very much. Chapter 76. The corner of Guyi's eyes twitched slightly, not because of the treasure box with a strong smell of hell, but because of the person opposite, who was not polite at all, using her teapot as mineral water. It can be imagined that the tea that Guyi liked must be extraordinary, not to mention that the tea brewed at this time was one of her favorite and most precious teas. After a moment, Guyi forced himself to endure it, and stopped looking at his own tea that was being ruined, and turned his eyes to the devil's box. A very special smell of hell, probably the work of some great devil. Can you tell how strong it is? He has not transformed yet and has not reached the level of a sub-father, but he should be not much different. That is definitely a legendary level, someone who can beat Magneto and X-Hand to pieces. What do you want me to do? Destroy this thing for you. Destroy? Why should we destroy it? It's such a good treasure, it's not a waste to destroy it. Guyi seemed to have thought of something, looked up at Rock, and met Rock's eyes full of inexplicable meaning. At this moment, there was a tacit understanding between them. Seems interesting. If you find it interesting, then just start. Believe me, there are a lot of cute little treasures in it. Even if they are of no use to you, the high-level wizards in Camartage will need them. Guyi nodded, and reached out to the devil's box with one hand. He used the last chance to open it directly. In an instant, something burst out from it. Guyi didn't pay attention to what that thing was, and Rock didn't pay attention to it either. He saw Guyi grab the Agamotto on his chest with one hand, and the green power of time began to flash. In an instant, time went back to before the last opening. Guyi reached out his hand again, opened the devil's box, went back, opened it again, and went back again. The whole process was repeated boringly and uninterestingly. The only difference was that there were more and more treasures in front of him. Although most of them were only ordinary grades, there were also some rare treasures. More importantly, treasures with amazing power began to appear gradually, legendary treasures. At this time, in an unknown dimension, a monster that was not huge, only more than 3 meters long, but full of weird demonic nature, at this time, there was confusion on its demonic face. It was a big devil. In hell, the earth, the Hell Lord is the most powerful being, comparable to the Supreme God. Below the Lord are these big devils and big demons. Each one is a legend in the world, especially the one in front of him, who has been at the level of the big devil for hundreds of years. He was once the absolute overlord of the big devil. You can imagine how powerful and wealthy it is. After all, hell is not a good place. Death and killing are eternal here. The stronger you are, the more things you can grab. But now, this big devil is a little confused. It likes to make the devil's box, through which it can peek into the plane world, and even use the devil's box to open the plane channel. This is its best trick. Through this method, it has obtained a lot of benefits. This time, another devil's box was triggered, but a strange scene appeared. The other side seemed to have done something to the devil's box. It could only be opened once, but it became opened 3 times. If it was just like this, the big devil could bear it, but now the problem is, it's about to start again. The big devil excitedly threw out a treasure wrapped in the devil's breath. The next moment, the thing disappeared, but the big devil was frozen by some supreme power, and everything began to go back. After a moment, it's about to be opened again. The big devil got excited again, and after a moment, he was frozen and retraced. Excited, frozen, retraced, excited, frozen, retraced. The whole process continued. Even if the big devil's strength was not enough to perceive the power of time, the problem was that its treasures were getting fewer and fewer. Looking at the treasure pile in front of him, which was almost piled up into a small mountain, but now there were only a few pieces left, the big devil finally realized that something was wrong. However, at this time, the feeling of the devil's box coming again. The big devil got ruthless, gritted his teeth, and instantly activated the secret means of the devil's box, destroying the devil's box directly. However, the next moment, freeze, retraced. It's open again. Damn it, why did I say that again? Fuck, where are my treasures? Where have they gone? Confused and furious, after a moment, the impotent and furious great devil threw out another treasure. This time, it traced back a little more, so that it also traced back to cover the places where it noticed something wrong. After a while, the great devil looked at his empty nest, which was cleaner than a blank board, and fell into deep thought. It was at this time that the feeling of the devil's box opening came again. No matter how stupid he was, he should have realized what went wrong at this moment. The great devil's face suddenly became ferocious. Damn it, I want to see who is teasing the great devil. With the help of the passage opened by the devil's box, the great devil dived in. In the Marvel world, the devil's box was opened again. This time, instead of treasures bursting out from it, a terrifying magical power burst out from it. In an instant, the whole space became unconscious, and a vast demonic energy gushed out, as if turning the entire void into hell. Greedy and hateful. With overwhelming power, he was about to announce his arrival from a high position, looking down on the ants, and then, nothing happened. Before he could finish his words, Ancient One slapped him with a big bag, interrupting all the fancy talk. As for the big devil, he fell asleep as soon as he was told to, and the sleep quality of this big devil was really quite good. Seeing that Ancient One was about to slap the big devil to death again, Rock blocked her at the critical moment. Ancient One raised his head and glanced at Rock. The creatures of hell are affected by the laws of hell, and chaos is their instinct. Rock nodded. This point can be guessed without saying anything. It would be a pity to kill him like this, let's make use of the waste. As he said this, Rock took out his stone egg. A stone egg that needs high-level energy to breed, what could be more suitable than a superior devil? Guyi watched Rock's operation, and did not stop him. There was no change in his eyes. With Guyi's strength and mentality, there were not many things in the world that could make her feel emotional. To read the violent novel, go to Philo Novel Network. If you inject too much hell power, the creatures inside will degenerate into monsters. Rock shrugged. So what, this little guy can't betray me. This is something the Golden Finger rewarded him with, not a lucky thing like the Devil's Box. How can it turn the world upside down? Ancient One just shook his head. Pure-blooded monsters staying in this world for a long time will have some impact on this world. As he said this, Ancient One stretched out a hand and penetrated directly into the void. After a moment, he took out a ball of light from it, without any extra nonsense, and slapped it directly into the stone egg. That is the source of divine power of a sub-father level god, which can neutralize the stone egg. Two contradictory forces, bred with your own blood, can breed the mount that best suits you. Rock's eyes lit up instantly. His extraordinary career sequence is Chaos Knight. Although Rock uses it as a magic and martial arts dual career, this thing is more inclined to the knight. It is no problem to use the knight as a warrior or fighter, but a mount with a high degree of fit will definitely have a considerable amplification effect on Rock. Not to mention, the two attributes of Hell and God. Once this thing is fused, it is clearly a chaos system similar to Rock. Not to mention the high degree of fit, the potential is definitely top-notch. How long will it take for this little thing to hatch? 1 month. Fortunately, Rock could wait for 1 month. Rock's eyes turned and looked at the treasures piled up like a hill, as well as 3 legendary treasures that were shining brightly and clearly filled with legendary aura. How should we divide these? Guyi just glanced at them, picked up a few at random, and pushed the rest to Rock. Camartage is not suitable for items with a strong smell of hell. Rock's eyes lit up. There is such a good thing. 3 legendary items, you don't want to choose one. No, you needed more. Rock didn't put away the things, Qian Li's, immediately, but looked at the 3 items first. To be honest, he was very interested in legendary items. Almost every one of them had a good effect on him. Legendary items are not only powerful, but can also be used as a foundation. The first item is a mirror. Name, Reversal Mirror. Grade, Legendary. Description, a magic mirror that controls the power of reversal. Inverting anything below the law level can turn light into darkness and turn demons into good gods. It's such a treasure. The inverted magic mirror, a treasure that appeared in the Snow White branch, can turn kind people into demons, robbers into heroes, monsters into beauties, etc. Although it has no killing power, this thing can often play a good role. It is definitely a good treasure. Put it away, put it away. Rock turned his eyes and looked at the second legendary treasure, Song. Name, Potential Crystal. Grade, Legendary. Introduction, a rare gem that can stimulate potential and greatly improve the strength of the legendary level, increasing the probability of legendary breakthrough by 30%. Good stuff, no nonsense. Name, Doomsday. Grade, Legendary, Incomplete. Introduction, it was originally the ultimate artifact of the ancient demon god. With the fall of the demon god, most of the power was lost, and it can be continuously restored by swallowing powerful strange objects. Chapter 77. A string of mysterious fluid surrounds Rock's body, emitting a faint star-like color, mysterious and dangerous. This thing is somewhat similar to the ether particle. The ether particle, which is the real gem among the infinity gems, looks like a fluid, and is different from the other infinity gems in form. This so-called ultimate artifact looks somewhat similar to the ether particle. The difference is that the ether particle is indeed very powerful as an infinity gem, but its abilities are more auxiliary, while this ultimate artifact, which is also a fluid, the Doomsday End, is a pure weapon. Name, Doomsday End, Ultimate Artifact. Grade, Legendary, Incomplete. Form. Immortal form. The fluid particles can condense into a layer of armor formed according to the will of the user, which has extremely powerful defense. Magic gun form. The fluid particles can be transformed into any number of magic guns at will, and carry out large-scale shooting and penetration attacks on the target. They can also be transformed into the ultimate magic gun, which can reach the extreme power and annihilate everything with one shot. Wing form. The fluid particles transform into a pair of pitch-black magic wings, which greatly improve the overall attributes and greatly improve the speed attribute. Saint Annihilation form, can be activated by demigod level. God Destruction form, can be activated by gods. End form. The strongest form, according to legend, it is an invincible form that is enough to fight against the supreme god, and the conditions for activation are unknown. 923 has 6 forms, and the functions are different, corresponding to each level. It can only be said that it is worthy of being the original ultimate artifact. It's just Supreme God. Rock's eyebrows slightly frowned, not knowing what level this so-called Supreme God was. Was it the strongest level among the gods, comparable to Marvel's Odin, the omnipotent father of the sky, or surpassing the level of gods, reaching the level comparable to a single universe? The former is easy to say, but as for the latter, the water in the fairy tale world is countless times more water than Rock imagined. The artifact that can fight against a single entity is enough to be comparable to the ultimate Black Death Sword in the Marvel Universe. The ultimate Black Death Sword is an existence that has slaughtered an entire universe. In some cases, it can be called the strongest artifact. After all, a more powerful existence is no longer something that can be described by a so-called artifact, such as the heart of the universe. By the way, if it is really a divine weapon that can be compared to the ultimate Black Death Sword, then this thing is actually not much different from the Infinity Stone in terms of grade. A strange luster surged in Rock's eyes. If this is really the case, if this divine weapon is integrated with a real gem of similar form, and the powerful laws of reality are completely absorbed, and it is free from the restrictions of the laws of the universe, perhaps, then the strongest divine weapon in history can be tempered. After a moment, Rock shook his head. Those are still too far away, and there is no point in thinking too much now. In a moment, the liquid form of Doomsday quickly returned and came to Rock's side and surrounded him. This artifact has an unfixed form. You can change it into any form with just a thought. It is extremely functional. To be honest, Rock was very satisfied. With a thought, countless liquids flew up into the sky in an instant, and behind Rock, they turned into 2-meter-long, pitch-black, domineering long spears wrapped with blood-colored dragon patterns. Hundreds of blood-colored magic spears, suspended in the air, were enough to give people a suffocating sense of oppression. The next moment, Rock suddenly waved his hand. In an instant, hundreds of flying spears suddenly fell to the ground. Boom! 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 The earth exploded, and in an instant, it seemed that within thousands of meters, it was destroyed by the violent bombardment. Rock's mouth curled up a little. This is no less than a certain Golden Guy, that move of the local tyrant Golden, domineering more. Moreover, this move has a much higher upper limit than Jin Shinshin's move. As Rock's strength increases, more and more blood-colored magic spears will be condensed. Professional level 100, powerful enough to destroy a 1,000-meter range. Legendary level, the power is at least 10 times higher, enough to destroy a 10,000-meter boundary. Demigod level, 10 times more, 100,000 meters of land, are all within the attack range. One strike is enough to cleanse the surface. God level. To read the violent novels, go to Falu Novel Network. This is just the more basic form of this artifact. It is hard to imagine how powerful this artifact must be in its heyday. One strike can even explode a star. Treating planets as candied haws is not the limit of this artifact. After a while, Kye, Rock returned to Hell's Kitchen with satisfaction after completely controlling the power of the artifact. As soon as he returned, Rock's attention was instantly attracted by something, or more accurately, some things. At this time, a large number of tinderboxes appeared around the tinderboxes that were originally entangled. However, unlike the two normal-sized tinderboxes, the newly appeared tinderboxes were obviously much smaller, about 1/4 the size of the normal tinderboxes. As for the number, there were more than 10. My goodness, that crazy magic is even more outrageous than I thought. When he met Guyi before, Rock also consulted Guyi, and Guyi gave an answer after checking. It was a very strange magic, but it didn't bring anything else. There were no gadgets left by the crazy Lord of Joy. As long as Rock didn't use it in some weird places, it could be considered an outrageous and normal magic. He picked up a small tinderbox and the light curtain unfolded. Name: Small Tinderbox. Grade: Ordinary. Introduction: you can summon an apprentice-level copper dog. The introduction is much briefer than that of a normal tinderbox, and you can only summon one, and the grade is also fixed directly. Copper dogs are all apprentice level, and only the mysterious tinderbox, which is one of the mother bodies, can summon professional level copper dogs. Silver dogs are generally of lower professional level, and the highest is currently medium professional level. Gold dogs, very neat, high professional level. As for why it is so neat, it is because there is only one gold dog's dog tag. This thing can be used as an internal welfare of the Hell Kitchen. The gold dog and the silver dog can be used to supply their own people first, and the apprentice-level copper dog can be awarded to some good subordinates. In addition to this, there is a most special dog tag, tinderbox. Unlike other tinderboxes that are only available in copper, silver, and gold, this tinderbox is black. It is a mutated dog tag caused by the mutation that occurs when the power of the Devil's Box is absorbed. Name: Hell Tinderbox. Grade: Special. Introduction: a special summoning item born from the absorption of the power of the Devil. It can summon a mutant creature with extremely strong growth potential and can be upgraded through killing. Rock was a little interested. Note that it is a mutant creature, not a mutant dog. The most important thing is that the size of this dog tag, tinderbox, is not much different from the two mother tinderboxes. Curious, Rock activated this mutant dog tag. In an instant, a hot black flame shot up into the sky, and a moment later, a mighty figure appeared in it. The 4 feet fell to the ground, and the whole body was wrapped in a layer of armor-like scales. The whole body was pitch black, and the 4 feet under the feet were stepping on the red hellfire. It didn't have the cute feeling of the dogs summoned by other dog tags. It was full of domineering and sharp eyes. It was an extremely warlike beast at first glance. Just standing there gave people a strong sense of oppression. Chapter 78. Rock was playing with something in his hand. It was the potential crystal of one of the 3 legendary treasures he had obtained not long ago. This treasure might be the lowest among the 3 legendary treasures in terms of grade, but its functionality was the strongest in a sense. This thing could theoretically create professional level or even legendary level treasures in batches. Of course, even if the probability was increased by 30%, it would still be difficult to become a legendary level treasure. Otherwise, in such a huge Marvel world, there wouldn't be only a few legendary level fighters. It's time to break through. In fact, Rock was a little hesitant, but he didn't doubt that this thing could help him break through. In fact, he was not far from breaking through now. It seemed a bit of a loss to use this thing. After all, this thing can only be used once by a person. But the problem is, I don't know if Rock's foundation is too great. Even if the professional level is not a big barrier, it is difficult for Rock to break through. Forget it, just use it. A Tinderbox world can get this good thing, and the Tinderbox world is not the highest level in the chat world. Only when the strength becomes stronger can it be better to obtain more precious treasures. Rock focused his consciousness on the potential crystal and activated the potential crystal. In an instant, a strange power burst out from the potential crystal and spread throughout Rock's body in an instant. At the same time, the almost vast and infinite potential in Rock's body began to revive and be awakened. Time began to pass slowly. At the same time, in Hell's Kitchen, there are superhumans coming and going everywhere, some of whom are full of powerful auras, and some even have various inhuman parts on their bodies, such as animal ears and so on. There are even skinny, weird guys like vampires, and even physiques far exceeding normal, like little giants. The entire Hell's Kitchen, all kinds of superhumans flow around. Entering here is like stepping into another world, like a myth, and very much like the other world in movies and TV. Natasha pressed the hat on her head, trying not to attract anyone's attention. This kind of dress is not very special. After all, most of the superhumans in the Marvel world rely on mutations. Among them, there are naturally many incomplete mutations, and weird guys are not uncommon, so many people will choose some more mysterious dresses. Under the hat that almost covers her entire face, Natasha's expression is always in a solemn state. With the strength of SHIELD, it is not difficult to figure out some of the secrets of Hell's Kitchen, such as the conditions for entry and exit. After all, SHIELD also has its own superhumans, and Hell's Kitchen does not have. Ordinary people were too excluded from entering, so Natasha got in easily. It was already the third day since Natasha got in, and during these 3 days, Natasha experienced the constant collapse, reconstruction, collapse, and reconstruction of her worldview. Once upon a time, Natasha believed that she was powerful, had great strength, and was extremely fast. She could easily defeat an armed combat team by herself. Such a person had almost reached the limit of human beings, and it was not an exaggeration to call him a Superman. But now, what a bullshit Superman! In this Hell's Kitchen, any one of them can be crushed to death like an ant. 1 against 10? 1 against 100? That's garbage. Have you seen a being that can control the celestial phenomena and summon a tornado? Have you seen a master of the mind who can instantly control hundreds of people with just a thought? Have you seen a master of the mind who can instantly control hundreds of people with just a thought? Are there any monsters that have the physical strength to withstand missiles without any problems? Until now, Natasha has stopped being alert as an agent. What kind of alert is that? If it weren't for the otherworldly superhuman regulations formulated by Hell's Kitchen, which restricted most superhumans, right next to her, if there was a riot, SHIELD would be the one to suffer? Unless nuclear weapons are used. Moreover, even nuclear weapons are not necessarily invincible. There are some superhumans who can avoid nuclear bombs. Natasha walked slowly, and inadvertently, she came to the ring. At this moment, her face unconsciously became solemn. Ever since she knew about the ring, it has become the place Natasha has visited most often. After all, only here can she clearly feel the power of those superhumans, and at the same time, clearly feel the insignificance of human beings. Hurry, hurry up. There will be a serial number level battle today. You will regret it for a year if you don't watch it. Oh my god, it's actually a serial number. Is it a 2-digit number or a single-digit number? That's a single digit, of course. Fuck, why don't you leave quickly? Why are you still wasting time here? The people around rushed in. Zero asking for flowers. At this time, Natasha, who was hiding carefully, couldn't help but look solemn. She had been in Hell's Kitchen for 3 days, and with her means, she had naturally learned some basic information that she should know. As for the so-called serial number level, she also knew what it meant. This was a special term in the ring. Perhaps in order to stimulate the enthusiasm of all superhumans, the person in charge of the ring specially released the so-called ranking, and the top ranking was called the serial number level. The full name of the serial number level is the top 100 in the ring. The serial number is the top 100 in the entire ring. The top 100 serial numbers are divided into 2-digit serial numbers and single-digit serial numbers. The 2-digit numbers are naturally 10 to 99, and the single-digit numbers are 1 to 9. The single-digit serial number level battle is the battle between the two top 10 strongest people in the entire ring. Among these countless superhumans, it is conceivable how powerful they must be to make it into the top 10. Although Natasha has seen many superhumans, she has never seen such a powerful superhuman who can make it into the top 10. At this moment, she couldn't help but feel excited, strong curiosity. She quickly followed the crowd. Fortunately, Hell's Kitchen built a large ring with many spectator seats around it, so Natasha didn't have to spend much effort to get a good position. She looked expectantly at the huge ring below. "Welcome everyone!" A bald man instantly appeared in the middle of the ring. Natasha knew the people below, or rather, she didn't know anyone in the entire ring. Caliban, nicknamed the Eye of Hell's Kitchen, was a high-ranking figure in the entire Hell's Kitchen. Now, the appearance of this person also showed the importance of this battle. Since this is a competition arena, there is no need to say anything extra. Now, let's invite our two contestants. The one on the left is from one of the top mutant forces, one of the most powerful third-level mutants in the world, Storm. Suddenly, there was a thunderous cheer at the scene. As one of the top female warriors, even though she is not very pretty and is black, she is very powerful. In the ring, Storm has a great reputation. And, another one, a powerful mutant who used to be a member of the Hellfire Club and now does not belong to any force torrent. Chapter 79. Boom! A bolt of lightning tore through the sky and instantly landed on the ring, revealing a figure that was none other than Storm. The next moment, a tornado rose from the ground and landed opposite Storm, revealing a figure that was none other than Riptide. Storm, the master of storm and thunder power, Riptide, the pure wind element, but his wind was purer than Storm's. At this moment, the two beings who were both at the top of the third-level mutants were facing each other from a distance. Caliban stood in the middle, and a platform rose up under his feet, dragging Caliban away from the ring, and then, Caliban's last voice sounded. "Now, the battle begins." The audience seats around the entire ring suddenly fell silent at this moment, and everyone was watching this shocking battle without blinking. However, the two people in the ring did not start fighting immediately at this moment. They just started to confront each other with their momentum. Behind Jiliu, strong winds formed, and in a flash, a huge storm was formed. Storm's surroundings, thunder entangled the body, and hurricanes surrounded the surroundings. For a time, the whole area, the sky began to change. The originally clear sky, unknown when, began to become gloomy. Until a certain moment, Storm Girl suddenly casually moved, and a thick thunder, as thick as 1 meter, fell from the sky and suddenly struck the rapids. In an instant, the rapids' entire body exploded. This was not a direct explosion, but turned into 3 small storms. The rapids only had the power of wind. In terms of development, it was definitely better than Storm Girl, who had many abilities. His specialty was storming. The 3 small storms quickly gathered together, and in an instant, they condensed into a giant tornado that penetrated the sky and the earth. The tornado was upside down, and within a radius of hundreds of meters, it was instantly a mess. The next moment, a giant tornado suddenly rushed towards Storm Girl. Storm was not afraid. Her body soared into the sky. The power in her body surged wildly. 4 smaller storms quickly formed around her. Thunder roared and storms surrounded her. At this moment, Storm was like a god who controlled thunder and storms. Boom! 4 small tornadoes instantly collided with the giant tornado formed by the rapids. The terrifying power poured down, and waves of terrifying air hit all directions. At this time, in the audience seats of the ring, countless audiences suddenly widened their eyes when they felt the aftermath that could easily destroy low-level superhumans. This is a top-level third-level mutant, a single-digit level in the ring. Under such a devastating power, even the entire army would be nothing. It would only be a matter of time before they were killed. Natasha in the audience seats opened her eyes wide. This was the first time she had seen a battle between top-level superhumans. How powerful! Natasha even had a feeling that any one of these two people was enough to easily kill the entire shield. Looking at the drastic changes in the sky and the continuous collision of several tornadoes, Natasha's expression was extremely complicated, and her lips kept moving. At this moment, she suddenly felt a little ridiculous. Shield? Maintaining world peace? Detecting the conspiracy of Hell's Kitchen? With such an absolutely unmatched power, what conspiracy and tricks would have any meaning? You know, although the following two are powerful, they are not the strongest among the superhumans. They are in the top 10 of the ring battle, but they are only in the top 10, not the first. Moreover, even if they become the first, so what? Natasha knows that the truly most powerful superhumans will never appear in the ring. That is the existence called legend. Until now, Natasha has only heard of this term. That is the existence that truly stands at the top of the superhumans. It can only be seen in the deeper levels of Hell's Kitchen, the so-called inner circle. How powerful is a legend? Natasha murmured a few words, shocked and confused, but she couldn't even make them out loud. Haha, legends are not that strong. A very gentle voice came from the side. Natasha was stunned for a moment, and her face suddenly changed. Damn it, because she was too shocked, she actually lost her vigilance. This is not the professionalism of a professional agent. Don't panic, ma'am. Everyone has secrets. Hell's Kitchen can hold all the secrets, right? Natasha didn't say anything, but looked at the person who was speaking with some caution and inquiry. A middle-aged man, sitting in a wheelchair, with a very gentle expression, especially a pair of eyes, as deep as water waves, gentle, but it seems to be able to see through everything. Natasha's mind was quickly flipping through countless information and data, and she felt that this middle-aged man had some inexplicable familiarity. Don't think too much, just watch it carefully. If it weren't for some minor conflicts between Storm and Riptide, you wouldn't normally see such a good show. Riptide was once a member of the Hellfire Club, and as we all know, the Hellfire Club was destroyed by two mutants, X-Men and Magneto. In addition, Storm, who is under X-Men, has very similar abilities to Riptide, so the conflicts can be imagined. Natasha was silent for a long time, and suddenly spoke inexplicably. Legend, is it really that powerful? The middle-aged man smiled gently and glanced at Natasha. It seems that you have already determined it. Natasha said nothing. In fact, she had already determined the identity of the person in front of her, a terrifying identity. The principal of Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, a bipolar mutant, the strongest spiritual master Professor X. A well-known, true legendary existence, far superior to the two top 10 in the arena below. Speaking of the power of legends, Professor X touched his chin and said, actually, it's not as exaggerated as you think. The following two guys, Riptide is okay, just barely making it to the top 10, and Storm, although now ranked only 7th, but that is because Storm is not a very warlike existence. With Storm's true strength, it is enough to make it into the top 3. The top 3 in the arena are considered to be stronger than the normal 3-level level. Even if they face the legendary level, they can still fight. The gap is not as big as you think. Natasha did not express her opinion. She did not feel that she was qualified to express her opinion. She just remembered Professor X's words firmly, 0. No matter what, this is the opinion of a true legend, and it contains great value. Unconsciously, Natasha breathed a sigh of relief. The two below are already strong enough. If the legend is only slightly stronger than the two below, this is definitely good news, the best news in this period of time. Suddenly, an extremely bright light suddenly rose up, and the light that penetrated the sky and the earth spread throughout the entire Hell's Kitchen. For a moment, the entire Hell's Kitchen was as dazzling as daylight. What is this? To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Not good. Professor X's face changed. However, before he could say anything else, a sudden change, a real change, came. Boom! An extremely terrifying, indescribable momentum, like a raging volcano, instantly penetrated the entire Hell's Kitchen. In the blink of an eye, the entire Hell's Kitchen was filled with this extreme light. With this extreme light, everyone's eyes could no longer be opened. And that power was getting stronger and stronger, like a mountain, pressing on everyone's head, making it difficult to breathe. This power was still rising, inch by inch, and in a blink of an eye, it rose to a terrifying level that could not be stopped. The degree of understanding. The void began to ripple with layers of amazing ripples. The extremely powerful aura oppressed everyone's head. In the entire Hell's Kitchen, the low-level superhumans were instantly pressed to the ground alive. As time went on, all the second-level ones were pressed to the ground, and the lower-level third-level ones were also suppressed to one knee. Only the top-level strongmen in the third level could barely resist this oppressive feeling. Even so, they were sweating all over and barely resisting. At this time, in the ring, the two top 10 stopped fighting. Both of them had red and ugly faces and struggled to resist the increasingly strong pressure. Professor X couldn't bear it any longer, and his vast spiritual power surged out instantly, resisting the increasingly powerful sense of terror and oppression, and suppressing the harm to everyone present. Natasha stood up in a somewhat embarrassed manner, and looked at Professor X, as if she was looking at a liar. She was so stupid, really. She actually believed that the legendary level was not much stronger than the top 10. This is not much stronger. She felt like she was about to die on the spot because of the terrifying power. Even the two powerful top 10 below couldn't stand it in the end and knelt down directly. Professor X, who was also a legend, blocked this terrible power. This is not much stronger? Legend and below legend are obviously two levels. However, after hesitating for a moment, Natasha asked, "What was that just now?" Professor X couldn't help but reveal a complex expression, as if envious and shocked. That guy has become stronger again. What a scary guy! Natasha's eyes widened instantly. Just by becoming stronger, he almost brought the entire Hell's Kitchen to its knees. What the hell is this guy? He is still a human being. Chapter 80. At the highest point of Hell's Kitchen, a figure was emitting infinite light all over his body, like a large sun, sacred and majestic, making people dare not look directly at it. As time passed, this fascinating light gradually dissipated, or more accurately, it was completely absorbed into the body, returning to its original human form. Feeling the almost infinite power in his body, Rock showed a clear look of satisfaction on his face. At the mid-level professional level, with my strong foundation, the power that can be burst out at the limit is enough to rival the mid-level legendary level. No, it should not be said to be comparable, it should be surpassed. With the powerful light skills of the demigod, the extraordinary sequence of divine legend, the legendary exclusive big move, the artifact. With all these foundations added together, Rock's combat power can probably reach more than one major level, plus half a level. At this time, Rock's ultimate strength is probably between the mid-level legend and the high-level legend. The big devil before, the guy who stood at the top of the legendary level, Rock at this time is not afraid of a head-on battle at all. Like on this earth, there is someone stronger than me. Rock fell into deep thought. The Ancient One is of course one of them. He is a monster that challenges a single entity with the realm of a godfather. He can be ranked among the best in the entire universe. The god of fear, the great serpent, is the elder brother that was sealed by the almighty godfather Odin himself in Asgard. That guy should be at least at the level of a mid-level godfather. And there is also the group of gods bred in the center of the earth. Apart from that, it seems, that's it. The latter two are unable to act, and the Ancient One will definitely not stop Rock. At this time on this earth, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is rampant. Of course, that is, until all the major events of Marvel break out completely, and those dimensional demons begin to emerge, such as the Beast, Mephisto, Dormammu, etc. At that time, the legendary level of strength will not be enough. At the very least, it is necessary to surpass the legendary and reach the sub-godfather/demigod level to fight with those guys. After thinking for a moment, Rock suddenly spoke. Come here. After a while, a hot woman in a red battle robe, who made Xiang-Er look very excited, came in. It was Wanda, who was chosen as a maid. As soon as Wanda appeared, Gong looked at Rock obsessedly. Sir. His parents died when he was young, and he was so scared by a misfiring missile that he could not move for several days. Although he has grown up now, the psychological trauma left over from his childhood can never be dispelled, and it has turned into a crazy yearning for powerful existence. It can't be seen in the original work, because in the original work, with the help of Hydra's experiment, he directly activated the chaos magic, and then soared into the sky. His strength is at the giant level in the entire Avengers, and there is no powerful existence worthy of her longing. Now it's different. Her chaos magic has not awakened yet, and the strength of the person in front of her is definitely strong enough. All the emotions in her heart have turned into fanatical yearning. At this time, Wanda is not an exaggeration to say that she is a fanatic. Rock's eyes wandered over Wanda's body, and he nodded with satisfaction. This is a good outfit. Look at the people around Rock and you will know that Rock is an absolute fan, and he also likes mature women with hot styles. Wanda's uniform completely suits Rock's preferences. Wanda was delighted. In fact, her current outfit was also based on her own secret observations and the outfit she finally chose. Women dress up to please themselves. Obviously, her thoughts were not in vain. As my maid, you have the right to view the database of Hell's Kitchen. Go check the information. I want to know the recent extraordinary information of various cities. Okay, sir, I'll go now. Rock himself has the authority, but if he has to do everything himself, what's the point of Rock conquering this big territory? While Wanda was looking for information, Rock once again studied the power he had just obtained. The realm destructive power and so on are known, but some special abilities of the extraordinary sequence still need to be studied, such as the ability to breed extraordinary seeds that can only be obtained when reaching the professional level. Rock closed his eyes and his consciousness entered the sea of consciousness. At this time, in the depths of Rock's consciousness, a golden flower was blooming. Apprentice level, the extraordinary seeds are nurtured and grown, professional level blooms, and legendary level blooms. Level result. This extraordinary flower is the source of Rock's power. Normal professional level people can initially control this extraordinary flower and transfer it to a safe place. The physical extraordinary sequence generally chooses the heart, while the magic extraordinary will choose the sea of consciousness. Rock's Chaos Knight, who practices both magic and martial arts, can naturally go wherever he wants. Looking at the golden flowers blooming in the sea of consciousness, Rock can clearly know through his perception that now, as long as he wants, he can make the extraordinary flower give birth to seeds, which are naturally extraordinary seeds. According to the extraordinary information obtained from the Witch King, normal professional level extraordinary can only breed a single-digit number of extraordinary seeds. After reaching the legendary level, it can reach double digits, and even more than 100. To read the exciting novel, go to FaluNovel Network. It can be said that a legendary extraordinary can create a force by himself. This is the true meaning of legend. One person is a legend. Rock is naturally different from ordinary professional level. According to the information he just sensed, he can breed about 30 extraordinary seeds now, with a high probability of ordinary level, a medium probability of breeding rare extraordinary seeds, and a small probability of breeding legendary extraordinary seeds. Ordinary seeds. However, soon Rock frowned. Professional level can indeed breed extraordinary seeds, but extraordinary seeds are themselves bred from the essence and origin of the extraordinary. The higher the level of the extraordinary seeds, the greater the consumption of themselves. This consumption is not impossible to make up, but things that can make up for the origin and essence are obviously valuable. Rock's essence and origin are definitely much more than those of ordinary professional level extraordinary people, but even so, once Rock now breeds a legendary extraordinary seed, it will also consume a lot, and it may even affect Rock's promotion speed. If you can't breed a legendary supernatural seed, then it's meaningless. Without legendary potential, there is not much qualification for Rock to take seriously. Never mind, I'm not a great man. It's okay to help subordinates become stronger without affecting yourself, but if you sacrifice yourself for the sake of training subordinates, haha, that's something that only a fool with a door stuck in his head would do. He played with the potential crystal in his hand for a while. It happened that now he had this thing, which could completely replace the extraordinary seed in some cases. He no longer cared too much about the ability to breed extraordinary seeds, and turned to study another ability. When the physical extraordinary is promoted to a professional level, the physical strength will be strengthened and the fighting spirit will leave the body, while when the magic system is promoted to a professional level, the mental power will be promoted. The strengthened mental power can be materialized to explore the surroundings. The stronger the professional level, the wider the range of exploration. And the range that Rock can explore is the entire Hell's Kitchen. Hey! Rock raised his eyebrows, revealing a hint of amusement. Interesting, she actually got in. Rock really didn't care much about ordinary people getting into Hell's Kitchen. After all, the entire Hell's Kitchen was divided into levels by Rock. No matter how capable an ordinary person is, he can only hang around in the middle level, where he can at most get some information about second and third level superhumans. Rock didn't care whether it was agents from various countries or investigations by some underground forces. It was just the tiny actions of an ant. Apart from making the Hell's Kitchen more powerful and creating a stronger deterrent to the outside world, it had no other meaning. If there were any idiots who really did something stupid, Rock wouldn't even need to do it himself. With one order, the superhumans in the middle level of the entire Hell's Kitchen would take action, which was enough to beat 99% of the forces in this world into scum. Therefore, it was nothing for ordinary people to sneak in, but Rock was somewhat interested in this Black Widow sneaking in. A ray of wool instantly stretched out. In a large and luxurious office in the middle floor of Hell's Kitchen, behind the arena, Caliban was shaking a glass of fine wine, watching the battle outside through the monitor. To be honest, Caliban couldn't be more satisfied with his current life. He used to be a first-level mutant, a little trash whose combat power was not as strong as that of ordinary people. He was despised by all superhumans and was the shame of mutants. But now, even third-level mutants dare not underestimate him. Such a life is simply heaven for him. What arises from this is naturally the absolute loyalty to the Lord of the Black Market. Suddenly, an indifferent and familiar voice suddenly rang in Caliban's ears. "Caliban, bring me a man." Caliban lowered his head and said respectfully, "I will obey your orders, sir." The voice faded away for a long time before Caliban wiped the non-existent sweat stain on his forehead. Mr. S.'s strength is really getting more and more terrifying. Just one voice came through, and it gave him a shock that he could hardly bear, as if he would explode if he heard a few more voices. You know, he is different now and has become much stronger than before. After calming down, Caliban immediately took action. He didn't want to lose his wonderful life now. With his absolute loyalty, his action power was absolutely full. End of the video. Like, subscribe.